Cold hard cash. It's Hail Marys and money. Enter now at talk.tv/win and get set for a gilt-edged trip to the Golden State you'll never forget. For your chance to win, text TALK to 8338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at TalkSport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 8338 now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning to you. Just gone 6 o'clock. Welcome to Wednesday. We call it Hump Day, the 14th of January 2026. You would talk, of course, the home of common sense and the place that you come to have your say on anything that matters to you. So much in the news. We'll go through the papers in just a tick with the deputy chairman of the Tory party, a man with more titles than the king, to be perfectly honest, Matt Vickers. But what are you waking up to? You're waking up, ladies and gentlemen, just alarm clock Brits, steady yourselves, because the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, overnight has what can only be described as a U-turn for the 13th time. Play me my music bed, please, now. Greetings, pop pickers, or should I say electorate. Honestly, I'm not even going to lie to you, right? We were looking at this, right? Yesterday, digital ID, in at 4, down at 7. I'm messing. But listen, 13 things that they've U-turned on. Digital ID, my friends, the 2-child cap benefit, income tax, national insurance, welfare reforms. This is in 18 months. The farmers' inheritance tax, the grooming gangs inquiry, winter fuel payments, day one workers' rights, those poor waspy women, trans rights, let's move on, pub business rates and green investment. The Prime Minister of this country, under pressure from what? The media, his own backbenchers lose it, and everybody else U-turns again. How do we take anything that this man says seriously? If you could see the smile on Matt Vickers' face, you'd know that basically the United Kingdom is gearing up. They're just laughing at this man, laughing at him. Keir Starmer, digital ID is to be scrapped. Why'd you come up with it in the first place, then? What was that all about? I don't understand. Love to hear your thoughts as ever on the show. Christian is here. Very smart this morning. Very, very smart. Got a jacket, got a very nicely ironed shirt. Could be off for an interview. 0344 499 1000. That's the number for your voice notes. Get them in nice and early. 0344 499 1000. And your text to 87222. Front page of The Sun highlighting the other main news story of the day. Brilliant headline. The Inn Reaper. You see what The Sun did there? Rachel Thieves, or Richard III, as if you go and look at her, was blasted last night yet again as pub goers were hit by a double whammy. Pricier Guinness, diluted alcoholic drinks, due of course to her devastating tax scrub. The pub business, the hospitality business, on its backside with a government who shows no desire to protect it. I don't know if you work in the pub industry, you're up early, you're getting the barrel loads in. What do you make of this woman? She just seems to me to want to destroy any business in that sector and is going about it in the most horrific way. We'd love to hear what you say there. We've also got Donald Trump. He told the Iranian, on a serious note, he told the Iranian protesters help is on his way as he considers strikes against the Islamic Republic. We will update you on that throughout the morning. Writing on his Truth Social overnight, DJT said that the regime's killers and abusers would pay a very big price for their actions. More, of course, than 2,500 civilians have reportedly been killed. Freeing Iran would be the most important thing, I would have thought, for so many people. We'll let you know. Plus, our brand new roving reporter, Samara Gill, SOS, send our Samara, will be explaining A couple of great packages today. The potential ban facing X, although don't hold your breath because it will probably be thrown out tomorrow. And also it's AI image generator grok. And also why that Chinese embassy in London is such a threat to our national security. This is what you can expect later from SOS. Here we go.
These redacted rooms apparently are in very close proximity to fibre optic cables that could contain extremely private and confidential information that you would not want the Chinese embassy to have.
It's all going on the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, 7 minutes past 6. We say a very good morning to a man with a spring in his step and his hat is at a jaunty angle. Matt Vickers, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Now, I know why you're smiling, because yesterday, forget the Nadine Zahawi stuff, which was a real split for my viewers and listeners, but an opinion poll showing Reform dropping, showing the Green Party dropping, a YouGov poll ironically created by Nadine Zahawi, and the Tory party up on the march under Kemi. Reaction to that?
Well, I think she's making her pitch, isn't she? You know, people weren't quite listening, but they are listening because that woman's got backbone.
What's changed?
Well, people are tuned into her. You know, she's gone out there, she's made the pitch, she's took the time to see what people have said, and she's a woman who's going places. She's got a plan, she knows what she's about, she's not messing around, and I think people like it. They want somebody who's got backbone to take on the problems that this country's facing. She's the one.
It's really, really interesting, actually, because you've sat here for months and we love you and respect you for doing that. And the one battle I think the Tories will have for a long time is to be listened to by our viewers and listeners and the public in general. But there is a slight feeling that she's finally speaking the right language, and it's going to be fascinating.
Well, the more people hear from her, the more they like her. That seems to be where we're at. So keep listening, people.
We've got the deputy chairman, and later on we've got Dame Priti Patel. Is she?
She's a legend.
She's a legend. You're terrified.
Another woman who knows what she thinks.
You're terrified of her, aren't you? Right, all of that coming up on the show today. Matt, let's go to it. Let's get straight to it, because we try on the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show to have a slight laugh. Digital ID, the 13th U-turn by this government.
The guy's like a weather vane, just flip-flops, he's here, there. Well, in fact, they branded him Kia Sutra, aren't they? Because he changes position every day.
What? No, stop. No, I hadn't heard this. Christian, do something with that. Kia Sutra. Position. This is brilliant.
I mean, when you arrive in office with no plan, you have no idea what you stand for. Everything, because all of these positions, he's been in a different place on them all, but we're hoping for the 14. I reckon by the end of the week we might get it. Jury trials. This is, you know, we have David Lammy who's gone out there and told us how fundamental jury trials are to our judicial system. And then here he is, proposing that we get rid of them. We're hoping for that 14th hit by the end of the week. Who knows? We might get it. But
I mean, I read the list out. Digital ID overnight. You know, the government abandoning plans to make digital ID cards mandatory for workers. I think one of the things that I know about, certainly the people that listen and watch this, is that they feel that their freedoms are under pressure in this apparent nanny state that is this Labour government.
When it comes to digital ID, when it comes to jury trial, these are things that are like, they change the way that the state relates to citizens, and they'd never been mentioned before the election. Yeah. Nobody wanted it, nobody needs it, nobody voted for it. It's not as at no point was it in the manifesto, no point was it said to anybody. He just pulls out the bag and goes for it.
Pete, Keir Starmer more U-turns than a ram at breeding time. Brilliant. 10 past 6. Let's nail the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. But it's true. U-turn after U-turn after U-turn. Now, politically, you know this because you're in the House of Commons, it's all a bit of a mishmash, but you can understand that right now in the Labour Party there's a lot of machinations, moving parts and people waiting to jump. One of them is Wes Streeting, who, to be fair, has made no secret of the fact, I think, that he'd like to be the leader one day.
It's only a matter of time.
Do you believe that?
I think he's sat there grinning away during PMQs as he sees the nasal night unfolding in front of the nation's eyes.
Keir Sutra, the nasal night's getting better.
Kemi's there, tearing him a new one, and you can see Wes sat beside him, well, he's ready to measure up the curtains, isn't he? He's going in.
Right.
It's just a case of when.
Yesterday, and this is where politics becomes interesting, right? Front page of the Mail, now digital ID cards won't be compulsory. And yet, just before that announcement, Streeting does an interview and blasts Starmer over Labour U-turns. But did he get a heads up on Prime Minister's latest flip-flop? Now, we try and make your Wednesday, and in fact Monday to Thursday, just occasionally amongst the misery of the news, we like to try and find something funny. This is a very short clip of Streeting. Just listen to this, please.
In the NHS, we have an initiative called GIRFT, Get It Right First Time. That should be our New Year's resolution for 2026.
Sorry, is that girth? What is he? Is he talking about girth, Wes Streeting? Girth or girth? He's talking about the thickness. I've no idea. We'll try and decipher. You've gone slightly red. Wes Streeting and girth. Welcome to Wednesday. Peeps, what do you make of Keir Starmer on a serious note? I mean, it's frightening to me.
The bizarre thing with these U-turns, though, is he sacks... So MPs who dare to vote against... You saw there was one of them. One of them had the spine to vote against the family farm tax. Well, he's coming down the line now and he's going to get us the jury trial U-turn. But there was the one guy who voted against this family farm tax. This family farm tax that's undermining food security, going to drive up our food prices. Well, you saw what's happening to farmers. Farmers literally ending their lives out of fear of what this is going to do for their kids. One of them had the spine to stand up and vote against it. Chucked out the party. Now they've U-turned on it anyway. But the same on the two-child cap. He chucked a lot of them out.
Do they come back in? Do they come back in?
They usually get they sneak back in at some point.
What is just from your point of view, and tell me honestly, not because you're a Tory, what's the feeling on the Labour benches? Because it must be favourable, because they can just click their fingers and this guy capitulates like a blancmange. It's
ridiculous. When you see the size of the majority, he can't deliver anything. 13. I reckon the 14th will come by the end of the week. But Are you putting your neck on the line there? You reckon the jury trials will be U-turned? I reckon we're there. But then the other problem is a lot of these things that we're hearing the headlines on, we don't know the detail about. They've talked about business rates. They've said they're backing down on it. We don't know what that means. We don't know whether that's just the pubs and the hairdressers, the restaurants and the shops are all just going to still go under. We don't know whether he's going to give them a discount of 5%, 10%. We don't know what he's doing. I don't think he does know. I don't think he does know.
Is he, ladies and gentlemen, the most incompetent Prime Minister we've ever had? I've said this before, right? This show, this station, allows you to come and speak. We've got the Deputy Chairman of the Tory Party today doing our papers, and we thank him for that. Later on, the Shadow Foreign Secretary, Priti Patel. Yesterday, we had the Chairman of Reform. Nothing from Labour. We've tried. I'm very happy to have him on, and I extend that the whole goddamn time. Starmer, this is another one. JK, if he allows his Chinese embassy with a secret room with heat extraction units near our fibre communications network in the city, this is absolutely outrageous. He must be stopped now. That and Mad Ed and Net Zero, getting rid of diesel pumps, an estimated 9 trillion costings. I honestly, says Sean in Bradwell, believe this country is on its backside. Not more interesting, Sean. I wouldn't be disrespectful. Helen, you know what, Jez? I'm done with all parties, including Reform. Maybe now Advance UK. This is Ben Habib's party, is the way. I don't know, but detest this new detector of Reform, Nadine Zahawi. We don't want the Tories. I'm politically homeless. How do you answer that?
She's got to keep listening to Kemi. You know what? You can say what you want about the last government. You can say what you want about all the mistakes it made. That is a woman who's got backbone, who's getting stuck in, who knows what she's about, who isn't going to be flip-flopping all over the place. Give her a listen, give her a hearing, and make some decisions.
Hearing? Well, here's a hearing for our Prime Minister, the embattled Keir Starmer. Overnight, he decided to abandon plans to make digital ID cards mandatory for workers, just about 4 months after he proudly announced them. Here he is on digital ID from October.
This government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
It's as simple as what? I'm going to change my mind between October and January. I mean, honestly, you're laughing. We're all laughing. He doesn't make a rod for his own back. He's totally incompetent, isn't he?
You do wonder where it comes from. These ideas, they come out of the woodwork, having never been discussed with the public, probably never been discussed with his own MPs. He floats them, throws them around, and wonders why he ends up trashing them. They arrived in government without any sort of plan, any ideas of what they were going to do. But this is a guy who literally held every position. He was backing Jeremy Corbyn.
Yep. And
we're now surprised. You know, I mean, when you think about what Jeremy Corbyn had to say on defence, when you think about what he was going to do to this country.
Do you know what I find myself doing when I look? I've said this before. When I look at Starmer as a voter, not as a broadcaster, right? I literally sit here and I say, Jeremy Corbyn and I would be so diametrically opposed in almost everything he believes in. At least he had the balls, Matt Vickers, to stand up and say, that's what I'm going to do, and I am going to stand by that. You don't get that from
Well, he
Starmer.
Believed in something.
Yeah, and by the way, he got more votes than Starmer did.
There was a funny line at PMQs the other week, and I saw Kemi called him out on it. He said, oh, you know, what does he believe on Sons? And he starts flicking through a folder, you know, trying to find what it is he believes. And he arrived at nothing. There is nothing that he stands for. There's nothing he believes in.
There's nothing inside him.
Change.
I don't think there's any DNA, political DNA. There's nothing that, you know, he feels passionately about. There's stuff I'm sure you feel passionate about. We all feel passionate about, but he doesn't look.
But who's he there for? Who is he there to deliver for? It's not for working people.
No.
They're all being battered with. The only people he's helping out is the people on benefits who can't be bothered to go to work. He's not standing up for anyone or anything.
This next message is for you, and there's a reason I'm going to do it, and you'll understand this. And you have to take this seriously. Jez, great show. Could you please ask Mac, and I respect him for coming on, after what your party did to the UK economy only 18 months ago, explain to me why on earth I should believe anything you or your party say. Keith?
So, well, economy is quite an interesting. So I think the last government did get lots of things wrong. I think there was lots of mistakes. The party's obviously significantly changed. We've got a new leader. I wasn't a minister in the last government. I think the party got lots of things wrong. But on the economy, I don't think we did. I think when you look back at where we were, we had the fastest growth in the G7, near record levels of employment. Taxes were too high, but we know why taxes were up. We know what we were paying for. We were paying for all that furlough that got people through the pandemic. And look at those same metrics now. 21% more people out of work. We talk about that as a number, but that's
21% more people out of work.
21% more people unemployed. That's people who don't have a pay packet, struggle to look after their families, are sat at home becoming unwell. Being out of work is not good for you. It's not good for them. You look at that you look at growth. We've now got the most sluggish growth going. Taxes, we thought it was bad before. This government hasn't had a war. It hasn't had a pandemic, yet taxes are through the roofs. 3 things put taxes up: wars, pandemics, and Labour governments. The one thing that's guaranteed is always a Labour government. More people out of work, taxes go up. The only people better off are those who don't want to work.
This digital ID thing's getting to you. Liam says the only reason, gang, they cancelled the UK ID scheme is to stop us talking about the ludicrous banning of X.
That's, well, yeah. You've got to wonder where it's going. I mean, but it's also the X thing is being thrown in. They're trying to like tie it up with people using editing images. Twitter doesn't really, you know, Grok might be an app on which you can do it. Don't tie it in.
I said this yesterday, and to be fair, it did get a bit of traction, right? The irony of this man, who today has announced the axing of digital ID card scheme, that's the 13th, made a big thing about banning X. Nobody wants those images. Disgusting, heinous people that do that should be arrested. But you have to talk about the other platforms if you're talking about X, and you have to also have a serious conversation to people who will think that this is denying free speech. But the irony was that we had that yesterday, on the same day that his answer to the boat situation was to launch a bloody account on TikTok to create information about how you know it's going to end. I genuinely, and I don't have an ounce of his intelligence quite patently, but the Prime Minister of this country is, without any shadow of a doubt, probably one of the most incompetent people that's ever held that office, if not the most. And that is not sitting here trying to be personal or anything. Every example, 13 U-turns. What do you make of Rupert Lowe yesterday? Did you see that tweet?
I didn't, but I mean, the other thing about Starmer is he is the most unpopular Prime Minister, but we've been pointing out...
Is he less popular than Liz Truss?
He was less popular than Maduro. He's less popular than Liz Truss. He's so bad. The guy who was executing people in his own country was more popular. I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it? But the guy, you can understand why. You can understand
a tweet from Rupert Lowe yesterday. I love your response to this. The man, of course, who fell out with the reform, who has a large gathering. It is a plea to all patriotic MPs. Can we please put aside petty BS party political differences and work together for the British people? We can win. We are winning. We need to win. Your response to that from Rupert Lowe?
Yeah, I think it's a fair game. I think actually when you look at what's happening, when you look at these U-turns was a victory of all the noise that gets made in that chamber week in, week out, all the pressure, all the petitions that people go out there and sign, Kemi battering him at PMQs. That's part of the drill. That's what politics is all about. And this is achievements on behalf of the opposition, getting him to U-turn on this absolute rubbish he was inflicting on the British people. Do you take
credit for that as the Tory party or not?
I think Kemi's had a big role in a lot of that. When you look at the family farm tax, it was Kemi who was leading the way. When you look at the grooming gangs thing, it's Kemi who's been absolutely battering him and holding him to account. But actually, it's also about people on the street. It's about the farmers who were out there demonstrating, fighting for their livelihoods. It's about those grooming gangs victims who went through the most awful of things and then went out there, told the story, told the people what it was about. MPs and politicians do a little bit to get on the edge of that and help those people tell their stories, but actually it's some of those incredible people in the campaigns that they lead.
Loads to talk about. Matt Vickers, Deputy Chair of the Tory Party, here reviewing the papers. The #1 news story today, digital ID is to be scrapped. It's the 13th bloody Labour U-turn in 18 short, painful months for Keir Starmer. Overnight, he abandons plans to make digital ID cards mandatory for workers. Well, it was October when he said it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Margaret in Birmingham. Good morning to Margaret. She says, not another one. Well, what a joke this man is. Puts stress on everyone, then backtracks. U-turn after U-turn. Jez says, Christina, don't trust this U-turn on digital ID. He's given in too easily. Remember, elections just round the corner. He will sneak it through the back door. Don't trust him. Morning, Anna.
This man puts grandparents into prison for tweets. This man was happy to let pensioners freeze. This man is destroying our food chain. He's ruining our army. He's quite happy to sit back whilst illegal Islamics rape children, rape women. He's quite happy to sit back and let the country slide into the sewer whilst allowing the Chinese to build a big spy embassy under London.
I have one comment to make to our dear Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. You made a comment saying that calling the IRGC a terrorist is futile. I have been living on the run for the past 3 years. I am breaking my silence here right now. A British person becoming a refugee in America because the United Kingdom cannot assure my safety because of IRGC. That statement, sir, Keir Starmer, you should be ashamed of yourself. IRGC is a terrorist organization.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning. This, of course, is Talks, the home of common sense and free speech. Jeremy Kyle on breakfast until 10, and Matt Vickers, Deputy Chairman of the Tory Party, reviewing the papers on the day you wake up to the news that our devoted, is he devoted? I've no idea, barking mad leader, Sir Keir Starmer, or Stalin as we like to call him, has made the 13th U-turn. It's one a month since he went to Downing Street. He's abandoned plans overnight to make digital ID cards mandatory. That on the back of abandoning the two-child benefit cap, income tax, national insurance, welfare reforms. I'm going to keep reading this out. This stuff was, we were told, was going to happen. Farmers' inheritance tax, grooming gangs inquiry, winter fuel payments, day one workers' rights, waspy women. Do you want to make this sound? Trans right, moving on. Pub business race, green investment. This man, I don't think he even knows his name. Does he? I mean, honestly, it's embarrassing. Now, one of the things we talked about yesterday, by the way, was the potential ban on X. You and I were just talking about this. This really infuriated the viewers and listeners yesterday. Morning, Steve.
Morning, JK. It's Steve from Basildor. This whole AI-generated issue that Labour is clamping down on or focusing on, this is the very same Labour government that launched a TikTok video using AI, which depicted animals as key workers, overlaid with a Portuguese song where the lyrics were about drug use and sexualised content. They can't even vet their own AI usage. How are they going to do it for the whole of the nation?
Sorry, is that absolutely true, Christian? I don't even know what to say anymore. Animals and Portuguese music, what a combination. Now, Samara Gill, our roving reporter, went out yesterday and did a piece on X. Have a listen.
We are outside the X headquarters here in London. Now, Ofcom has launched a snap investigation into X for violating some of their rules. Keir Starmer and his Labour government seem hell-bent on getting X banned in the United Kingdom. X is obviously a bastion of free speech used by many of our viewers and listeners. But could this be the end of X as we know it?
Shortly after that, we were ushered away by security. But free speech in Britain is clearly under threat after the government raised the prospect of banning X. Since buying the platform, Elon Musk has promoted X as a space for open debate, resisting political pressure and refusing to censor on demand. Prime Minister Keir Starmer says the concern centres on Grok, X's AI chatbot, which he claims is being used to generate explicit content. Starmer argues that this puts the platform in breach of UK law and warns that all options are on the table if action isn't taken.
It's disgraceful, it's disgusting, and it's not to be tolerated. X has got to get a grip of this. This is wrong, it's unlawful, we're not going to tolerate it. I've asked for all options to be on the table. It's disgusting.
Musk's response was characteristically defiant, posting an image of Starmer in a bikini, widely seen as a refusal to bow to political pressure. Ministers say that platforms that fail to comply could, in extreme cases, be effectively shut out of the UK. Free speech advocates say that this raises much bigger questions. X is not the only platform where explicit or harmful content exists. There are rival AI tools such as ChatGPT, encrypted apps, and pornography websites that all distribute similar material, yet none of them face the same level of scrutiny. To critics, this isn't about safety. It's absolutely about control, and if a government is prepared to threaten a ban on a platform it doesn't like, then free speech in Britain becomes something that can easily be switched off.
Excellent piece again from Samara, our new roving reporter. Can I just make the point before I go back to Matt? SOS, send us Samara, wherever you are listening in the United Kingdom. And it's not going to be about national stories. It can be about any story. Maybe you run a local shop that you keep suffering at the hands of shoplifters. Maybe you've been mugged. Maybe you can't even find a policeman. Your bins aren't delivered. There are National Pothole Day tomorrow. I wander in the biggest hole in the United Kingdom. I mean, genuinely, this lady, it adds a layer to this show. I don't want it to just be set in London talking to the same people. I want us to be able to come to you wherever you are in the UK. That is our guarantee. If you want us to send you Samara, 87222. Great piece there, Matt. And I'd love to know the Tories' take on this. Let's do what we always do and say, all of us believe and agree those images are heinous and people should be brought to task. But you can't just single out one platform when we all know that that platform directs an enormous amount of criticism to the government of the day.
Well, I can't believe you just played that without some sort of warning. There's people eating their Cheerios and Weetabix at home. I've just had to see Starmer in his bikini.
Do you think it's the first time I'm not going there. Crack on. Sorry.
I think you're right. I mean, everybody agrees, and he actually said it there. It's unlawful. There is legislation in place. Yeah. There is laws, and actually we should just get on with enforcing them.
Yeah.
Holding Grok and people who provide the images, those vile people who create all sorts of vile images and distribute them, should face the full force of the law.
Am I wrong to say that I mean, big tech, high tech should be brought to task? Yeah. But if I was Keir Starmer, I'd read the room and think that Hugh Edwards, and I'm sorry, it's a bugbear of mine, used these images of young children and he's walking free on 200 grand a year as a pension from the BBC. I would get my Attorney General, rather than be saving people from every other country but own, to make sure I put Hugh Edwards behind bars and got the bloody money back.
You're right, you've got to put it in the context of the fact that we're saving people from human rights. Everything is about human rights, but actually the rights of those kids, the rights of those people who were photographed, who are abused, who are... They always come second to all of this.
And what about, you know, whilst you're on your high horse about X, which I do believe is and I've said it again, the people that do that, I don't want them in my society, but look at all platforms. But hold on a second, you're supposed to be a father of two. Why have you done absolutely nothing about the disgusting, vile grooming gangs? We all know why, because you're pandering to a demographic that you're terrified will vote you out of power. Appalling. Absolutely appalling.
I mean, it's gone on for so long before they could even get a check. Well, we still aren't there. The thing, it still isn't meeting. This inquiry is still not on the way, and all of the victims have so many questions about what is and isn't going on in terms of, it just needs to get on with the job, do what's right. It's another failure of Keir Starmer, but it's probably the worst of them all, actually, when you consider what those victims have gone through. For all of these things that we think are appalling and pathetic, actually, that's probably the biggest one.
I agree. What do you make of Keir Starmer, people? 0344 499 1000 for your voice notes, 87222 for your text. Joanna, good morning. Jez, X has policies regarding account authenticity and may take enforcement action, including suspension. That, my friends, is why Starmer is using TikTok. Jan Ward, good morning. Talk JK. So, 3 options. Starmer comes up with his ideas and doesn't even tell his cabinet colleagues, or he does tell them and not one of them has the bollock to challenge him, or is it because they're happy for him, metaphorically, to hang himself, says Jan in Newcastle? I suspect the latter.
I think there's so many people weighing up the seat over there now, because you've got Wes, who seems like the heir to the situation.
He's not going to win amongst the membership. The membership of Labour are going to vote that mad idiot Ed Millipede.
Well, they might go Angela Rayner. They might yet go Angela Rayner. That'll be entertaining.
Dave in Colne, morning JK. Regarding digital ID, Starmer saying you would have needed ID to work. I would have gone on the dole, as would many people I know, rather than follow Starmer's crazy plan. But more importantly, where's my breakfast club, says Dave, who every morning makes that point. And then Big M, Big Marky, whose hair is cut by the council, will buzz me in a minute and say, where's our breakfast club on this breakfast show? Where's the Baker roll? Be quiet. Morning, Andy. Morning, Andy.
Morning, Joe.
Oh, hang on, we've got a bit of a technical glitch.
Beep, 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 beep. That's the sound of Starmer reversing. I think this guy knows he's toast. He must be. Something's going on in that inner sanctum of idiots that's the government. I think it's just a matter of time, but like a few of your viewers have said today, got to be beware of him, because it looks like he's injured and he's going down and he knows it. And God knows what harebrained schemes he's going to come out to try and ruin us people in the UK. Anyway, great show.
Sorry, I just couldn't get my head around Andy on Starmer. What was the sound? Can you play that sound at the beginning again? I love that. Go on. Go on, play it.
Beep, 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 beep.
It's the sound of Keir Starmer reversing or being on life support. I've absolutely no idea. Fantastic, Andy. Keep them coming. JK, Kemi is not the problem, the party is. Put this to Matt. Having said that she was in a position of power whilst in government and her input was not overwhelming, she could have and should have put a bonfire under the EU regulations that are strangling my business, but did not. Please put this to Matt Vickers.
I think, do you know what? I think, Kemi, you can... We actually set up a load of trade deals when Kemi was in post. We were making a lot of progress, lots of mistakes made. She is the woman who's got the balls to get on with the job and make things happen. She's there. We know what she's about. You're not going to end up with this flippy floppy U-turn every week. We know who she is. We know what she stands for. She's the woman for the job. 25 to 7. Jean's in Malta. Lucky person. We have digital ID already, don't we, Jez? It's called a national insurance number. Let's go to the front of the Sun newspaper today. Whoever puts these headlines together is brilliant. The Inn Reaper. You see what we did there? There should be no place at the inn for the Grim Reaper that is, what's her name again? Richard III. Basically, a big news story. Rachel Reeves blasted again last night as pubgoers were hit by a double whammy. Pricier Guinness and diluted alcoholic drinks that might well have to be brought into an industry that is on its knees because of this devastating tax grab. Guinness Draft, is that the way you say it? Is putting up the cost of a pint by 4p from April, and brewers are weakening favourite lagers to keep pints affordable in next month's rise in alcohol duty. One of the big things, you talk about flip-flopping, you talk about kids. I think the way that this government has treated small businesses is an utter disgrace. Growth comes from encouraging those businesses. And if you're running, right now, if you're listening, you're getting up to run your small business, you've got a government that will do anything to make your business fail. Yeah, the harder you work, the more it's taken from you. If you don't work, there's plenty for you. But I mean, the reality is, I spoke to a pub restaurant in my patch. Their business rates bill is trebling, not doubling. That's on top of the national insurance cost. That's on top of, but pubs, I often get told I'm obsessed with pubs. The reality is they have a really important role. They're businesses that create jobs. They're often the place where kids get their first job. It's where everybody's worked in a pub or a shop. And then actually, they're the centre of the community. They're where people come together. If you live in a village in the middle of nowhere, it's the one place where you get to meet the other people that live in the village. It's the one place people can drink safely. 111 18,000 jobs have been lost in the hospitality sector since this lot came to power. 2 pubs a day are closing. But that's another one of those contrast points. We can say however bad the last government was. Under the last government, 18,000 jobs were created in the hospitality sector. This lot have been in 18 months and we've lost 111,000 jobs. It can't go on.
Do you go with the theory, or is it too conspiratorial, that he doesn't like pubs? That he doesn't like pubs because they're the hub of the local community where people go and they discuss? Because to me, it's an absolute disgrace the way you're treating hard-working people. I mean, it is the one, not more than anything else, but I think it's... This country's always been built, I think, on aspiration and you know, go and make something of your life. And it strikes me that this government will do anything and everything it can to dampen aspiration, and that is really poor.
The taxpayer, the worker, the guy who's getting out of bed this morning going out of graft, he is the cash cow that Starmer is milking. But the other thing is we've all sort of breathed a sigh of relief about the fact we think he's U-turned on business rates. But we don't know what it looks like. We don't know what it means for shops. We don't know what it means for restaurants.
Look at the front of the Times, which is, I mean, this is again damning. Front of the Times. I'm going to work out where I hold my... You would have thought after 30 years I knew where I held that. Treasury knew business rates would double for thousands of pubs. Front page of the Times, which sends a really strong message to a party that... Well, does it? To a party that stood there and talked about the working man and working woman. Don't know why I did the voice. You know, we're gonna growth. They have completely and utterly destroyed sectors of business, with it jobs, with it growth, and with it the incentive to make something. I think it's so awful.
Whatever he said to get into number 10 is complete. Do you remember the...
We didn't say anything, mate,
on council tax. And we are taxed to the eyeballs.
He didn't, but you know this, and you take this the whole time. He didn't need to say anything. That piece of paper could have got elected, because that's the irony and the sadness and the danger of Keir Starmer is this. We used to describe it on this show as the Ming Vase approach. I think we should have replaced that with I'm so dumb I haven't got a policy approach, and he'll still get in because of how the Tories work. Couple of things for you, which I think is quite interesting. This is from Neil. He says, does Matt have an idea when this national grooming inquiry will start? And could he please tell his leader that surely this should be the first question every week by Kemi at Prime Minister's Questions until this piece of, this is how he describes it, gives us an answer for our children. I think that's a genuinely great point.
I think that is a very, very valid point. I mean, there is a hell of a lot going on grooming gangs, and she is making a hell of a lot of noise, and it's getting brought up every week in there, because every time they commit to a timeline, it gets pushed back, and it gets pushed back, and it gets pushed back. But the other thing with a lot of these U-turns is it's taken him so long to U-turn that the damage is already done. Anybody who was signing a lease on a pub last week has thought, sod that. Anybody who, all these farmers, we saw what happened to farmers and what they were doing to avoid this tax. People considering ending their lives, people making plans and starting to sell things off in order to get past and get through it all. The delays with all of these things have real consequences for real people out there. And the damage, there's so much damage already done by the fact he floated these stupid ideas in the first place.
If you are waking up, it's 20 to 7. It's Wednesday the 14th of January 2026, and our Prime Minister, Sir Keith Starlin, has backtracked on his 13th major policy decision since arriving in 10 Downing Street. Digital ID overnight. They've abandoned the plans to make digital ID cards mandatory for workers. It was only in October when he hailed this as the greatest idea ever to come out of his pea brain. So many U-turns: two-child cap benefit, income tax, national insurance, waspy women, the inheritance tax for farmers. We could go on and on and on. This man, he does flip-flop. Morning, Dan.
Good morning, Jezza. It's Dan from Kent. So Keir Starmer, a.k.a. Hugh Turner, has reversed on another policy. But is it good for the country that we have a leader in place that lacks any principles or conviction? How can the country move forward or grow when we have the human weather vane in place? Great show.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know what I love about this show? I love the fact it's so fast-moving. It's all going on 18 minutes to 7 o'clock. Matt Vickers, Deputy Chairman of the Tory party here, and we've got breaking news, Matty. X has just announced that it's restricted Grok from generating sexualised images of women and children after Labour, of course, planned to make it illegal to create non-consensual intimate images. Ready for this? Quite right, that. Absolutely. Yeah. First thing on my head is he going to go ahead with banning X, even though X have quite rightly made that decision? Because if he does, that tells you everything about free speech. But they're only still responding to requests to put men in bikinis or sexual positions.
I think,
honest to God, he will probably turn around in an hour or tweet at 8:15, which is what he usually does when he says cornflakes, and say, victory against X.
I think I think that Elon Musk probably has a good head on his shoulders, and I think this is something he would have arrived at anywhere. The idea that you tag it and you stick it together with Twitter and try and take the opportunity to take it down because it provides a bit of scrutiny every now and again. Mind you, if you had a profile like his and you're getting some of the stick he gets on Twitter,
you're loving
it's quite
this,
obvious as to why he does it.
I keep waiting to wake up and come in and feel sorry for him, but I'm so infuriated by his incompetence and so infuriated by his inability to... Do you know, like I said to you about Corbyn at the beginning, at least tell me what you believe in, at least have the gumption or the ability to defend it, and even if it goes wrong, I'll know that you sort of did it genuinely in an authentic way. But this man... Now, this is interesting. Matt says that Kemi, this is from Neil in Stoke-on-Trent, don't know why I did that, is making a good job as leader. I agree that she is improving at PMQs, but she gets more practice being given 6 questions, whereas my party of Reform only get 1 question, perhaps every 6 weeks, and even then, the children on the other benches create havoc trying to shout them down, seemingly aided and abetted by a speaker who I think has a limited amount of control over Parliament. We need a new broom to sweep all the dross out of Westminster and start again. Whether Reform can do the job against a background of civil servants who seem biased towards the left, I don't know. But for my mind, drastic action is needed before this country disappears completely down the toilet. Your response to that?
Well, interesting point. I think... You know what? It's the way it's always worked. You get the 6 questions, but there are lots of opportunities to ask questions.
Do you think Do you think that other leaders, Nigel Farage, Hypnotits isn't in the House of Commons, is he, Zach? Do you not love that word? Honestly, it's Nigel Farage's favourite line now, Hypnotits. Ed Davey gets more questions. Do you not think that all opposition parties should get more chance to ask?
It's kind of the way it's always been. Do I think that people can put in and ask lots of questions? Yeah, but Parliament doesn't sit for half an hour on a Wednesday afternoon. It sits all week. Well, it sits Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, sometimes on a Friday.
Do you not work Fridays, MPs? Do you not work Fridays?
We go and do the real work back at home. To go up north.
Do you travel on a Wednesday, is it?
Well, I wouldn't mind. But the reality is people get to ask questions all the time. And one of the biggest criticisms that people have had about Nigel Farage as an MP is that he often pulls out of asking other questions at other points during the week when he has the opportunity to hold the government to account. He doesn't come along. That's one of the biggest criticisms people have of him as an MP.
Is he not in the House of Commons as much?
He's not there as often as he should be. That's the biggest complaint people have got about Nigel. There are opportunities to ask questions other than that half-an-hour window. Do I think that we should be given more opportunity to scrutinise the Prime Minister? Of course we do. Do I think every party should be given more opportunity to peg him down and hold him to account for these ridiculous ideas? Of course I do.
Sorry, now, there's much about... somebody sent me a message yesterday saying, why do you always why do you always feel like you should sort of, whenever you talk about Trump, say some like him, some loathe him? I'm just pointing out facts. Interestingly, front page of the Telegraph, Trump says, help is on the way. I think we all, whatever our political persuasion, would understand that the situation in Iran is vile. They reckon 2,500 people, protesters, will probably have been hung, cut to pieces or shot in the back. And Donald Trump sent this message saying help is on the way. Regime's killers and abusers will pay a big price, US President warns. I keep saying this for a reason, Matt. for those people who think that this is Trump paying politics, the mad mullahs of Iran have been funding every single disgusting, vile terrorist group like Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis for years. Think October the 7th, think Iran. Think car bombs, think carnage, think Iran. I think, if you look at the protests outside the Iranian embassy, now is the time for this vile regime to be brought down, and one would hope it can be conceivably done by its own people, but it's a really difficult one. I guess the Tories would stand firm on that as well.
I mean, whatever people think about Donald Trump, actually, he's a guy who's getting stuff done on the international stage. Because he comes in, he's slightly unpredictable. People are a bit, shocked or scared by him. People actually respond to what's going on.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I mean, look at what's happened in Gaza. You look at what's happened in Iran. You look at what's happened with Maduro. Things actually happen. Things get moved and shook around. You can criticise some of the things that he does, but actually things are getting done.
Let's have a listen to DJT. This is what he said to the Iranian people.
You said to Iran this morning that help is on the way for protesters. What did you mean by that? What kind of help?
You're going to have to figure that one out. I'm sorry.
So many people have been killed in Iran.
Nobody's been able to give me an accurate number. I have heard numbers from everything's a lot. One is a lot. But I've heard numbers much lower and I've heard numbers much higher. We'll be knowing. We're probably going to find out over the next 24 hours. I think it's a lot.
It's an evil regime that needs to be brought down. But you mentioned something there that I want to... I mean, here we go again. I don't mean to bring it back to Keir Starmer. When I read this on page 4 of the Daily Mail, I'm not even going to show you, it's so shocking. Starmer weighing up future role on Trump's board of peace to oversee Gaza reconstruction.
Well, part of you think...
Sorry, I like parts of Donald Trump. If you put this in... Really? Keir Starmer?
I think
reconstruction?
At least if he's distracted and he's doing something else, he's out of the way. But the other problem is, whenever you send Keir Starmer anyway, he starts doling out things. You look at Chagos, you look at the fishing rights that he's given away at the EU. If we send him to Gaza, God knows what it's going to cost us if he gets to another part of the globe and starts dishing out our dosh.
I mean, I'm, as I say, quite a fan of the ability of Trump to sort of make decisions. But Keir Starmer, again, you're right. You're probably right. There's so many problems in this country, and so incompetent is he that he'll probably run off and sort Gaza out. Andrew's in Telford. Morning, Jez. Morning, Matt. Getting mentions now. Could it be Starmer, the community harmer, is pampering to his Islamist base? He won't join Trump in prescribing the IRGC. This is the Iranian Guard, this disgusting organisation, and we seem to not be able to call it a terrorist organisation. Would the Tories prescribe it?
Well, we've said you've got to look at what's coming in. You've got to look at what they're doing, but they're becoming now a serious threat. There are opportunities there to review this at a regular basis.
Do you think, I mean, this Andrew says, if you look at the IRGC, he won't run a full inquiry into the rape gangs, and he's hitting pubs who some Muslims want closed. Just my thoughts. Is this him kowtowing to a Muslim part of our population? This is not a racist comment. You look at what happened in the West Midlands with that football match. We played videos of Muslim apparent community leaders, I'd call them thugs, saying if Jews come to this city, they're in trouble. He is terrified. He lost 5 seats in the last election to independent Muslim candidates who stood only on Gaza, not on what's happening with their local community. Are the policies of this Prime Minister, in your opinion, geared to placating the Muslims of the United Kingdom?
Well, when you look at the grooming gang situation, I mean, you heard it from Simon Danczuk, didn't you? When he was a Labour MP, he was told
he's on at 7 o'clock.
Not to mention the race of these people, ethnicity, because that's why this is so fundamentally wrong. People scared to death to stand up to people. And the Maccabi Tel Aviv stuff is just appalling. That chief constable has got to go.
How is Craig Guilford still in a job? Do you know that he was nominated by 14 community leaders from the local mosque? Do you know that Craig Guilford has prescribed what he prescribed, has been told, and it's been proven that he's a liar? Again, you look at Mahmood. She knew for 8 days. Home Secretary, Muslim woman. Hold on, I'm not. There isn't a racist bone in my body. I go on every single day about how badly the Jewish community are treated. There are many Muslims in this country who have been treated appallingly. I have many Muslim friends who work hard and build businesses. But I'm sorry, if you've got a Prime Minister who is, in effect, doing stuff that most sane people of whatever political persuasion would go, what? You start to question his motivation.
Well, the one thing that people like about the UK is freedom, is the ability to express yourself, is the ability to live your life, choose your own religion and faith. You can't do that in the UK at the moment. If you are Jewish, you are banned from going to football matches. Did you see the story yesterday about that MP who's been Jewish MP banned from going
Damien
to a school
Egan.
in his own constituency? That is absolutely atrocious.
But there
We
again,
need to
I
give our
said
heads
this
a shake.
yesterday. Steve Reed told this story at the Jewish Labour Movement, OK, on Saturday. Steve Reed, Environment Secretary, used to come on all the time when I was on drive time. Won't take my call. Right, fair enough, that's fine, right? It's a minister now. I would have thought that somebody in Labour would have gone, right, there's an example of anti-Semitism against one of our own. Let's crush this. Let's make a point. Nothing. Gone.
We cannot.
Absolutely gone.
If this country allows us to carry on to the point where Jewish people can be banned from going to support a football team, where a Jewish MP can be banned from going to a school, God knows what comes next. We need to give our heads a shake. We need to look at what we stand for as a country.
Phrase. Give your heads a shake. Mark, with a C, a very good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Mark here. Do you not think that the Labour government has got all its priorities completely and utterly wrong? As much as these images are wrong and they shouldn't be widely available for people to do, concentrating on X when we have other platforms that can do the same thing, and then more to the point is we should be safeguarding our women and children from these Muslim men and migrants that are coming in on boats. But this Labour government, as always, is just concentrating on control and socialism rather than the actual protection of our women and children. Just completely wrong. This Labour government needs to go, and go quickly.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know what's really interesting? When a politician wants to get something out of you, no comment. I'm not telling you at the moment, Matt Vickers. You'd have to wait and see. It'll come out. News on the way. Matt Vickers, morning. Kate and the Wirral says, the lovely, gorgeous Matt.
Yeah. We'll take that. We'll take that.
This is a single man, the deputy chairman of the Tory party. Would you like to date him? Since the controversy, Chairman Stalin ceases posting on X. Instead of choosing, he's tending to choose TikTok as his latest preference. Tells us everything we need to know. Sharon in Staffordshire. Starmer is such an idiot. Anyone with half a brain would know that the digital ID would never work. The British people would never let it happen. Why does he not listen to us? I think he doesn't listen to us because he doesn't get it, does he?
I mean, TikTok, interesting on TikTok, because there's a lot of people, MPs, who will not use TikTok because they say about it being Chinese state ran.
Do you use TikTok?
I don't know if I do. I don't think I do.
I don't even know. I'm no good at all. By the way, we're now getting voice notes about you. Tony on Matt Vickers. Good morning.
Morning, Jezzy. Tony from Stoke. I quite like Matt Vickers as a person, but I think he's talking absolute BS, mate. I've been old enough to vote for over 40 years now, so it's not just 14 years of Tories and 18 months of Labour. This has been going on for a long time. They're the same party, they just wear a different coloured tie. And I'm sick of the lies and then the letdowns when they get into power. It's just going to be the same at this time round if the Conservatives get in. They ain't got my vote. Keep up the good work, mate.
So
that's interesting.
It's interesting, but I think people should give it. The other thing is actually, we talk about people turning up with a rosette. A lot of the people just changing the tie, aren't they? They don't, you know. People. I could go and get the turquoise tie. Maybe that might be a thing.
What did you make of Nadeem Zahawi switching yesterday?
I think. Do you know what? He's a nice chap. I know him. But you heard the stories. You heard the stories about him asking for a peerage and not getting one. You heard what he had to say about Farage before.
Called him Goebbels.
Sometimes people make decisions, but people can read the papers. They can make their own informed decisions as to what they think motivated.
One thing I'll say about
party.
you, and obviously you're single. One thing I'll say about you is that you believe in what you believe in, and you come here and you don't sort of ignore stuff, and that is what the British electorate. That's all they need. They need to be told what's in front of them, and if it works, it works. Now, Big Mark, who is obsessed with breakfast and is utterly annoyed every single day that we don't have a breakfast club, is going to be even more annoyed because Matt Vickers is off to a breakfast club at the House of Commons where the MPs, you'll have a fry-up and everything, won't you?
I was promised yesterday, viewers will have noticed, I was promised a bacon sandwich this morning. It hasn't arrived, so I'm going to a parliamentary breakfast. I'm going to sit down, chew the fat with all these MPs, see what's on their minds.
Do you sit in the canteen? Do you talk to Labour MPs and do you talk to Reform MPs?
Well,
or do you sit in your own
the Labour lot sit at the opposite end of the room. I don't know why.
Do they really?
It's probably helpful to us. But I think actually, I'm going back on the chap who there.
It's like school, isn't it? Really, to be honest. Who's your friend? Who do you sit next to?
Oh, a bit of a mingler. I just sort of get around.
Matt the Mingler. There you go. Matt the Mingler Vickers.
I think in politics, so back to the other chap who had views about BS.
30 seconds.
I think actually sometimes you've got to do what you think's right.
Yeah.
Whatever's gone before has gone before. Whatever comes next comes next. I stand with my party because I believe that the people who are on the side of working people, not people who just change their mind about this, that and the other, not people who promise to spend the earth on lots of things and sell you jam tomorrow.
10 seconds.
But people who know you've got to work hard, do the right thing. If you're one of them, like, you should vote Conservative.
I'll tell you what I love about you, mate. I love about the fact that you get up, you come here and you believe and you believe. We'll see you next week. We love having you on. Matt Vickers off to a breakfast club. Big Mark sitting there starving his head off. Talk breakfast till 10 and after the news at 7. Simon Danshuk, ex-Labour MP, now Reform. That after the news, which is next.
It's one of the biggest sporting spectacles on planet Earth, Super Bowl 60, and you could be there. Enter now at talk.tv/win for the chance to score a fantastic 4-day trip for two to the City by the Bay, San Francisco, including tickets to Super Bowl 60 and $2.5 grand in cold hard cash. It's Hail Marys and money. Enter now at talk.tv/win and get set for a gilt-edged trip to the Golden State you'll never forget. For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at TalkSport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning, welcome back. Just gone 7 o'clock. You would talk, of course, the home of common sense. It's where Alarm Clock Britain comes to have its say on the news of the day. Thank you for tuning in. Whatever you want to talk about, as usual, voice notes are welcome. 0344 499 1000. Your text messages to 87222. You're waking up to the news that Labour forced, underline, into yet another humiliating U-turn on Tuesday night after abandoning its plans for digital ID cards for workers. Starmer had vowed in October to crack down on illegal migration by making digital identification compulsory. not sending the Navy into the Channel and stopping the boats. I'm going to lose the countdown. Let me just say this to you, if you are waking up and you think, it's a bit unfair to Starmer. This is the 13th U-turn since he came to power. We're talking digital ID, the two-child benefit cap, income tax, national insurance. We're talking about welfare reforms. I'm going to cut $5 billion. Oh, no, I'm not. Farmers' inheritance tax. People have committed suicide and he's backtracked. The grooming gangs inquiry, the biggest and most disgraceful stain on this country. Still no news. Winter fuel payments. Let's freeze the pensioners. Oh, they're not happy. Let's not. Day one workers' rights. That's about the only thing that was good. Those poor waspy women who were promised and screwed over. Moving on. Pub business rates, that's in every newspaper today. And green investment. U-turn after U-turn after U-turn. The man, I don't believe, has a plan, never has had a plan, has no DNA politically, and we are drifting. Morning, Stevie.
Morning, Jeremy. This is Stephen Hartz. The only politician currently in the UK that doesn't flip-flop is Nigel Farage. The Tory party are currently standing against everything that they've done wrong in the last 14 years. The Labour Party are making up policy on the back of a fag packet. The Liberal Democrats aren't even worth mentioning, nor is Zach Piano Teeth and the Green Party. Nigel Farage is the only person that's constantly stuck by his guns. And that's why we believe in Nigel, and not the Tories, and not Labour, and not the rest of them.
7:05, Chris in Yorkshire. Jez, we all laugh at Starmer and his motley crew of lunatics, but there really are some sad consequences to what he's doing. I like this text. People are hurting, they're struggling, and they cannot see light at the end of the tunnel. How the hell do we turn this round for everyday Brits who just want to get on, live their lives, go to work, bring up their families? I don't trust any party, actually, and Westminster, to me, is a cesspit of people who are only looking to better themselves. I believe that we are at a really, really sad juncture. We're delighted to say a very good morning to a man who's seen both sides of the coin, to be fair, former Labour MP, now a Reform defector, but a good man. Simon Danchuk, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, good to join you.
Getting a name check there from Matt Vickers, who said Danchuk's a good man. Simon, you were a Labour MP. You voiced repeatedly on this station your frustrations with Starmer, with the Labour machine, which is why you left. A 13th U-turn in a little over 18 months. Digital ID cards no longer now compulsory, but they were in October. On a serious and calm note, does not every single person in this country have a right to say, I don't believe anything that comes out of this man's mouth?
Yeah, they do have a right to say that, and they'd be correct in saying it, wouldn't they? I mean, let's just remind listeners that they had 14 years to prepare for government. They were out of office since 2010. Labour were last in office in 2010, and so they've had all that time to prepare, and yet they've come to power with no plans to deliver anything of substance. I mean, that's the reality of it. I was with some friends last night. We were trying to think of one positive policy that they've implemented in the last 18 months. And it's very difficult to come up with something, to be quite honest. And as you point out, 13 U-turns, that's nearly one significant... These are substantial policies.
They are.
U-turned every month since they've been in power, and now we see it in terms of digital ID. I mean, it was a nonsense policy to start with. The British public, this just doesn't fit with the British public. So they would have known that when they announced it last October. They announced it in the run-up to the Labour Party conference, if you remember. And I think they did it in reaction to a Sun newspaper investigation, if you recall, which showed that Deliveroo and Just Eat and these food delivery companies were employing illegal immigrants. So on the basis of that, the Labour-Starmer policy was to make everybody in Britain carry a digital ID card. I mean, what's the nonsense in that? Just because a couple of businesses can't manage their employees correctly, we all have to have ID cards.
I remember at the time thinking, well, what you should do is you should do two things. I remember saying it. You should summon the business leaders of those huge conglomerates and tear a second one off them, and then you should send the police and the authorities to where these known illegal migrants are and deport them out of the country. It's like yesterday. You know, he goes on TikTok and says, we're launching this brand new app on TikTok which is going to say, you know, this is misinformation, don't come to Britain. It's absolute rubbish. I don't... And I don't actually take any pleasure from it. I was as critical of the Tories as you were at the end. And I respect Matt Vickers. I think there's a long way to go for the Tories to regain the ear of the British public. But this guy it has completely astounded so many of us with the level of incompetence, Simon, the real level of incompetence, the lack of planning, the lack of foresight. Almost everything comes crashing down.
Yeah, absolutely. And you recall that the digital ID issue is a response to illegal immigration, which has gone up under Starmer. The numbers coming here illegally has gone up significantly. And he came to power. One of the first things he did in July 2024 was to stop the Rwanda plan. That was actually shown to be working. It deterred people from coming across the channel. And it was just being implemented by a Conservative government. It could have carried that on and it would have deterred people from coming into the country, but he axed it on ideological grounds. This is the problem with Starmer. I mean, the reality is, in relation to the broader issue of illegal immigration, is that I think he believes in open borders. I mean, that's the reality of it. I think he's happy for people to be coming here. I think we have to accept that that's his view.
Well, let's just go back, if we can, quickly to October to give you an idea. This was 14 weeks ago. This is him absolutely extolling the virtues of digital ID. Have a listen, have a watch.
This government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
It's not, though, is it, Simon? It's not as simple as anything with this man. Nothing makes sense. Can we talk about X? I don't know if you heard the breaking news yesterday. Moves by the government to ban X. And I kept saying, and I would keep saying, as I'm sure you would as well, nobody wants to see these revolting, disgusting images. And, you know, big tech should be brought to task. But the accusation, of course, was that Starmer, again, the optics, rubbish, jumps up and down and says we're going to ban X. It's disgusting. Grok, yes, completely agree. Doesn't mention any other platform. People jump on the bandwagon and say, well, is that because X criticises you more than anything and Musk doesn't like you? And then on the same day, launches his app on TikTok. And you just find yourself with your head in your hands. We had a development this morning, pal. X has now restricted overnight Grok from generating sexualised images of women and children, which is great, after Labour planned to make it illegal to create non-consensual intimate images. He'll call this a success. However, it's still responding to requests to put men in bikinis or sexual positions. So I expect that Elon Musk will still be able to send that horrible picture of Keir Starmer in a bikini, which put me off my biscuit.
Yeah, absolutely. This was an attack on free speech, wasn't it? This was more about Starmer and Labour MPs not liking the fact that on X, Twitter as I still call it, there's free debate and criticism. I think I'm right in saying that Keir Starmer's posts on X have been community noted. That's where the objectively the platform corrects anything that somebody says. And
well, he put one out a couple of weeks ago when we started this show saying, you know, your energy bills will go down by £150, and within a second they said to him, no, you're lying. The cap's gone up. People are still worse off. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and they don't get an easy time on X, Labour MPs and Keir Starmer, and that's the real reason that they've been attacking it. That's the reality of it. They're trying to close down free speech. But it's interesting, isn't it, that as you point out, that he then goes on to TikTok, which is a Chinese-based platform, and is promoting that. And I think he has a real issue with China. I think it's a real problem for Starmer. He's far too close to China, in my opinion. Something that we have to challenge.
Well, there's an interesting story in the paper today. He's been branded Peking's poodle, getting backlash from all sides as he prepares to approve China's mega embassy. Can I just take time out of our chat? I want to play this. Our new roving reporter, Samara Gill, send our Samara, SOS. Brilliant side, just getting her out and about. She went yesterday down to the Chinese embassy to just give people the idea, because just for people who don't understand, there are plans to build this super Chinese embassy in London. There are real concerns from security issues. This is Samara Gill.
Today, Keir Starmer is set to approve plans for a Chinese super embassy, and that will be in the Royal Mint. Once a bastion of British values and currency, it's now a derelict building, and it's set to be overtaken by China. Now, there are many planning issues here that are yet to be confronted and could be a massive security risk for the country. There are fresh concerns after a leaked memo revealed that there are several redacted rooms contrary to the initial plans. Now, these redacted rooms apparently are in very close proximity to fiber optic cables that could contain extremely private and confidential information that you would not want the Chinese embassy to have. There are telecommunications cables right underneath, right where I'm talking right now. But Keir Starmer seemingly doesn't want to confront these problems. Nothing says, well done, China, than giving them a prime location here, right opposite Tower Bridge.
The Prime Minister's spokesman told reporters this is a quasi-judicial process and an independent planning decision will be made by the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government in due course. Any potential national security issues associated with this planning application have been considered and addressed.
Simon Danshuk, you touched upon people's beliefs that he is Peking's poodle. What's your response to that piece by Samara Gill?
Yeah, I think it's a real major concern. This is the largest embassy in Europe that the Chinese will have if it goes ahead. And I think Steve Reid is the Secretary of State, Labour Secretary of State responsible for this, is likely to make a decision on it today, I think I'm right in saying. And I think it's a big mistake if they let it go ahead. It's in a very sensitive position. As Samara pointed out there, it is directly next to very confidential financial information cables that run through the City of London. And we know what China's like. I mean, we've plenty of examples. They've been caught spying throughout the United Kingdom on numerous occasions. So I think it needs to be rejected. I think this is a big mistake for the Labour government.
I couldn't agree more, and more from Samara later. I just want to bring it back to the good, hard-working men and women. Rachel Reeves, who I know you know, bless you, was blasted last night again for the 837,000th time as pubgoers hit by a double whammy of pricier Guinness and diluted alcoholic drinks due to this devastating tax grab. Great headline on the front of the Sun, pal, the Inn Reaper. We always try. You know, your party as was, not now, the Labour Party, called the Labour Party, was supposed to be for the working men and women of the United Kingdom. I don't think these people in power have any understanding about what they're doing to people's rights, people's joys, but I also want to talk about the hospitality and pub industry. It's an utter disgrace. You create growth by encouraging small businesses. They are decimating people's livelihoods. I think Matt gave us a figure of nigh on 118,000 people have lost their jobs in the hospitality and pub industry since this lot came to power 18 months ago.
Yeah, unemployment more broadly is going up massively under this Labour government. It's the party of worklessness, not work, as it used to be. But in terms of hospitality, this is right. They're increasing duty on alcohol by well over 3.5%, and so that puts a lot of money on a pint. And the pub industry is already under pressure because of national insurance increases and because of business rate changes. This is going to see lots more pubs closed. I went for a pint in Hampstead Heath over the weekend.
That was brave.
Yeah, no, well, it's quite posh up there, I didn't realise. £7.80 for a pint of lager, £7.80. Goodness me. And that's going to go up from the 1st of April. So you're going to be paying £8 a pint. I mean, it's outrageous. Pubs are going to close as a consequence, no doubt about it.
There was a text earlier saying, I know you're talking about Starmer's U-turns on digital ID and stuff like that, but he said, I'm just a hard-working man trying to make a living who wants to have a drink in the pub and wants to pay his bills and, you know, wants to just be treated evenly. And he said, we're desperate, we're struggling. It's really, really hard. Just quickly, you defected to Reform. Not a big hoo-ha for you. There was a big hoo-ha yesterday, Nadeem Zahawi. It's quite interesting from my point of view. Half and half, really. Many people saying, great, you know, you're telling Reform they need seasoned and professional politicians. It's going to be a huge job. Others saying, nah. And they weren't talking HMRC, and they weren't even talking about the fact that he ran the Tory party for a while. They ran 100% about he being the vaccine man, and they would never forgive him and saw it as a mistake, him moving over. What's your take on that yesterday, Si?
Well, on a personal level, I like Nadeem. I think he's a good guy, you know, on a personal level. Whether the Reform Party can just keep bringing in former Conservative politicians is an interesting question. It begs the question, if you want to vote for a party, why not vote for the genuine article and just vote for the Conservative Party? Voting for Reform and just getting a load of former Conservatives, what is the point? I do think they have to look at this and try and establish themselves as a party, centre-right party in their own right, and not just keep bringing over former Conservative politicians. I think there is a question there. I think the public are right to ask what's going on.
I think there's two things I want to say on that. One is, and you were one of the very few Labour MP, well, probably the only Labour MP who's defected. I'd be interested to see whether there's any Labour defections on the way. The other thing is, of course, the millions of people in this country that voted Tory, Si, who have moved to Reform because they believe those core values are with Reform, you could say to them, you've gone from the Tories to Reform, and so have various people. For me, very much like you, if you're going to move, I want to know it's because you believe in the product, and it's not to either extend or save whatever political career you feel you might or should have. And I think that's a really, really interesting point. Mate, we love having you on weekly, please, for me. You're very popular with the viewers and listeners. Thank you so much indeed. Amazing. Simon Danchuk, former Labour MP and now a Reform defector, 7:20. What is it? Wednesday morning. Day. It's day, middle of week. That was my northern thing. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. Dan's in Kent. Morning, JK. I don't know who's done more U-turns in the last 18 months. The people of Kent, due to road closures by the inadequate water board, or this poxy government. Hello to Tony. He says, Jez, I'm surprised that Red Ed Millipede hasn't wired up Keir Starling to the grid with the amount of U-turns he's done. 13. He could power this bleeding country for a week. Morning, Stevie. Jez, no hope Starmer. We're wanting to tag us all in the ear like sheep next. Give illegal immigrants everything they need or want, and give the working people of Britain the bill. It's an absolute disgrace. Morning, Jez, says Dan in Leek in Staffordshire. He could be called Dan Leek in Staffordshire. He might have gone for a leak in Staffordshire, I know not what. He says, Jez, on digital ID, the only thing that should be rolled out for everyone in this country is seatbelts. As we're all getting whiplash from the amount of U-turns this Labour Party is doing, it's laughable. Hold on for your next lot. It's true. You're waking up to the news that this government has just made its 13th U-turn overnight, abandoning their plans that they announced in October to make digital ID mandatory for workers. That's 13 U-turns in 18 months. What do you make of this man? What do you make of a man who doesn't seemingly have the ability, the sense, the competency to say, here's something I believe in, and even if it's unpopular, I'm going to stick with it. We're coming back, by the way. We're going to look at Iran. We've got Sir Richard Dalton, great guest, former British ambassador to Iran, because overnight, Donald J. Trump telling Iranian protesters help is on the way. Morning, Craig.
Morning, Jeremy. Craig from Manchester. Just a thought on the Iranian regime. You know, it's okay overthrowing these regimes like Gaddafi and Assad and Saddam Hussein, but just look at the mess it leaves behind. You know, sometimes you're better with these tyrants in control than overthrowing them and having countries that are lawless.
every Monday to Wednesday, midnight until 1, it is Talkback.
Such a shortage of housing. You've got landlords, right, have taken that on board, and it's an absolute disgrace.
Your stories, your opinions, it is your chance to have your say. So they're literally just being rented out as hotels, basically.
Yeah, rent a load of hotels.
Well, that has really shone a light for me.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to 7:25 Wednesday morning. Of course, this is Talk, the home of common sense and free speech. One of the main news stories across the world, of course, Donald J. Trump. This is just, for me, on the front of the Telegraph. There's this extraordinary, I mean, the headline's not extraordinary. Donald Trump saying that to Iranian protesters, help is on the way as he considers strikes against the Islamic Republic. Writing on his Truth Social page, the president warned that the regime's killers and abusers would pay a big price for their actions. We're told they reckon up to 2,500 civilians already murdered. There's an astonishing picture of a man saying, Trump, help. Whatever you think about Donald Trump, and I've said this for ages, this regime, the mad mullahs of Tehran, have funded every single terrorist cell in the Middle East for years. It is an evil, barbaric regime that goes against its own people and needs dealing with. We're delighted now. A couple of guests. We say a good morning firstly to Sir Richard Dalton, former British ambassador to Iran between 2002 and 2006. Good morning, Sir Richard.
Good morning.
Also, we're delighted to be joined by Dr. Mirdad Konsari, former Iranian diplomat to both the UK and the United Nations, who has been exiled from his homeland since the 1979 revolution. Mirdad, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Good morning to you. Thank you.
Can I start with you, please, if I can, Sir Richard Dalton? Can we move away, and is it possible to move away from the Donald Trump who says things on so many occasions and people go, oh my God, he's absolutely right about Iran, is he not?
Well, I have more confidence in him if he said such things about other, even worse abusers of human rights. And secondly, if he paid any regard at all to the international legal context, which is that you shouldn't attack another country. You shouldn't commit the world's worst crime of aggression unless you're under threat yourself. And in this case, we simply don't know what he wants to do. It's unlikely that limited airstrikes, which I think is what is on the menu, will remove the regime. It's unlikely that they would only have regime casualties. It's unlikely that the majority in Iran, although Mirdad will comment on this, actually want political change to be brought about by American aggression against their country.
I'm very interested by that.
And finally, it's difficult to know whether, in fact, there's still a moment to help the demonstrators and protesters, because the gross brutality of the Iranian regime appears in the last 2 days to have got them off the streets because of the levels of unjustified killing.
So, Richard, you talked about there are worse cases of appalling, but you talked about gross brutality. I'm not sticking up for Donald Trump. Isn't it the world that should be saying we want to help free these people? You talk about gross brutality and how difficult it is for these people, but you say that to go into a foreign country is against international law. Don't we as a world want to help these people? Isn't that right and proper and good?
It is. And Iran is under the world's most severe sanctions regime, partly over disagreements over matters like Iran's nuclear program, but also because for years, countries including the UK have wanted to change Iranian policy towards its own people, towards human rights matters, as well as regional issues such as its negative role in so many regional conflicts.
But if that's the case,
what I'm
with
referring,
respect,
what I'm referring to
can I just jump in? Can I just jump in?
Military operations against states are highly selective.
Of course.
Far worse is happening in Sudan. I don't notice anybody calling for an invasion of Myanmar to stop what happens there to the Rohingya and others. So you've got to apply a very severe test of likely efficacy.
If I could jump in though, Sir Richard, if I could just jump in there and put this to Mehrdad, it is not the security of Iran, not the security of Iran in its entirety, a challenge to the security of the West. That's why we're looking at this with such horror and worry. Is that not right, my friend?
I think so. I mean, definitely the security of Iran is an important factor, but I would agree with Sir Richard that military action by itself obviously cannot alter the equation, but there is a lot more that Trump can do. You know, I mean, I will just enumerate a few points where he can help in a way that it could be effective, you know, quite separate from military targeting of key points in Iran. One is I think he's already taken steps in that direction of trying to get the Starlink coverage of internet for Iranian people to be free and to be available. He can jam and disrupt the command and control sector of the military forces in Iran, the security forces who are implementing these terrible policies against the civilians. He can prevent the sale of Iranian oil in the same method as he employed in Venezuela, you know, in weeks that gone by. He can muster international support amongst European allies to have a common policy and a common stand. And he can offer, you know, Iranian opposition figures, not just one or two, but, you know, those that believe in democratic values, a greater support. And he can obviously present a new vision of Iran for the Iranian people of how Iran could be in the post-Khamenei regime. I agree that military strikes, you know, what can they do? I mean, we have the example of employing military strikes against Saddam Hussein before the invasion of Iraq. I mean, it didn't, you know, the level of aerial attacks against Iraq was quite severe, but it doesn't alter the fact that Saddam remained in power, you know.
I get that point. I just wanted to play to both of you, if I can, and I'll come back to you in a sec, Sir Richard. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper yesterday made a statement on Iran. If we could just have a listen and a watch of that.
The UK will bring forward legislation to implement full and further sanctions and sectoral measures. The UK has already designated key players in Iran's oil, energy, nuclear and financial systems. Further measures will target finance, energy, transport, software and other significant industries which are advancing Iranian nuclear escalation. And we will work further with the EU and other partners to explore what additional measures might now be needed in response to developments.
Sir Richard, it's interesting taking what you said as well and what we're discussing. I had several texts this morning from saying, you know, we sort of understand it, but what happens afterwards? You touched upon the most stringent sanctions that any country has ever had levelled at it, which haven't done anything about destroying this regime. You listen to Yvette Cooper there saying, yeah, we're going to do fuller and further sanctions. Do you believe, as a diplomat with all of your experience, that those sanctions will change what's happening on the ground, which is thousands of people being murdered by a horrendous and heinous regime?
No, it won't. It's not clear what she intends to do.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole use of sanctions is so full of problems. It gives states that dislike other states something to do. In some cases, it has a dramatic effect. And in other cases, it has a very long-term effect. And undoubtedly, the weakening of the ability of the Islamic Republic to control its own territory and its own people, owes a lot to the long-term sanctions of the United States and others against it. So sanctions now aren't going to affect short-term decision-making in Iran one jot. They may, if the regime survives over several years, contribute even further to its weakening.
Do you believe, both of you, very quickly, and I'd love to have more time, I'll start with you if I can, Sir Richard, do you believe AN1 Trump will, with or without support, carry out airstrikes to, as he says, help is on the way, or do you think the rhetoric is more of a warning and the sanctions screw will be turned still further?
All that Trump cares about is, as he says in one of his recent on-aircraft press conferences, is a win. He's not going to get a win from airstrikes now, but he has committed his word to the Iranian people and internationally to taking some form of dramatic action. So I am expecting attacks on Iran by the United States.
Sir Richard, thank you. Mehrdad Kansari, just to finish, do you believe that Donald Trump will launch what he says attacks to save these protesters who are being murdered almost on a daily basis, to finally throw this disgusting regime out, or do you think it's
rhetoric? The possibility is that he may sanction some airstrikes, mainly because he would like to prove to people in the United States that, unlike Obama, who set a red line for Syria in 2015 and never followed through, that he is a type of person that follows through with his threats. But what is important and what is key is to have a smooth transition and to prevent Iran from decaying into further chaos in the case that these measures start yielding results, because what all Iranians want to avoid is another Syria kind of a situation developing in Iran as a result of trying to overthrow the current heinous regime.
Great to have you on, my friend. Thank you. Thank you, Sir Richard Dalton, of course, a former British ambassador to Iran. We appreciate you. And Mehrdad Kansari, former Iranian diplomat who's been exiled from his country since the 1979 revolution. Talk, of course, will follow this story. Donald Trump. It's an interesting point that Sir Richard makes. Is this about what's best for Iran or about what's best for Donald Trump? Your thoughts on that? We'll get actually the views of the shadow Foreign Secretary, Dame Priti Patel, will be on this show after 8 o'clock this morning. This is Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Really interesting, that last speech, actually, with Sir Richard Dalton and Mehrdad Kansari. We'd love to take your thoughts on the Iranian situation. I probably haven't thought about that as an angle, you know. Is it what's best for the Iranian people? We'll see on the front of newspapers, you know, Trump, help is on the way. People holding banners saying, Trump, come and help us. What's the motivation? One thing is for sure, though, whatever your political persuasion, what goes on in Iran is is vile and wrong, and the images. I mean, he made a point about Starlink, the website, the Wi-Fi unit. To be fair, because of course the people in Iran, they're not allowed to. There's a state broadcaster wouldn't be showing these protests. The state broadcaster would be showing the Ayatollah Khomeini having, you know, an afternoon meeting with somebody, and so spreading the information which then generates the unrest, for want of a better phrase, is essentially something that the United States and the rest of the world could help on. So much to talk about this morning. You're waking up, of course, to the news that this government has indeed made its 13th U-turn in 18 months, overnight abandoning plans, thank God, to make digital ID cards mandatory for workers. It was in October. He said it was a great idea. They've U-turned on so many things. There are people talking about the pub situation. And also, Sean, Tory defections. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Grimsby here. Well, just a quick one about Zahawi. Not very happy about it, really. I'm sure he's a nice fella. I'm sure he's got plenty of experience in government doing absolutely nothing apart from letting loads of immigrants in, which is what they did. And this is the problem the people have. You know, we've got the Socialist Labour Party, the Tories who are not really up for it, and now Reform, who are Tories. I mean, imagine being Reform, right, and kicking out Rupert Lowe and letting in Leah Nicky, my old MP. Absolutely useless, you know? I just can't understand the logic of these people. Maybe because Rupert's a big, strong character and they don't like him. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. What do I know? Pretty much nothing.
You are a voter, though, and you've a right to an opinion, my friend. 0344 499 1000. Thank you to Sean. Your voice notes to Christian, we'll get them on. Your text on 87222. Start your message with the word talk. We'll say a very good morning. I don't think I've ever spoken to this man before. They'll probably tell me I have. Alan Miller, co-founder of the Together Declaration. Good. Have we spoken before, Al?
Jeremy, we spoke many years ago when I was set up the Nighttime Industry Association, and we talked about bars and clubs when you had a previous show in a different world. But yes, so we did do then a long time ago.
A previous show in a different world. God, mate. I thought that's why I don't recognise you, because you've aged. I haven't. I haven't moved my face in 15 years, obviously. Al, let's talk about something that's really, really got people going. And the reason I wanted to bring you on is yesterday, Starmer, this was yesterday's announcement, we're going to ban X. These AI grok sexualised images are a disgrace. Elon Musk's response to that was to put a picture of Starmer in a bikini, which did make me laugh. But it didn't detract from the belief that we all feel, I hope, that children should be safe and this sort of thing is disgusting and should be banned. Now, the point that so many people were making, though, was that if you're going to do that which is right, you need to take on the high-tech companies and you need to look at other platforms, because the criticism, Stalin, is that actually this platform, X, is particularly, it criticises you an awful lot. So people were jumping up and down and saying, hold on a second, is this about free speech? Overnight, X have announced they've just restricted grok from generating sexualised images of women and kids, so Labour will say that's a win. But there needs to be a more united response, because on the day he talked about banning X, he launched a new app on TikTok, for Christ's sake. I don't understand the man, but you know more about this. Is it about free speech? Denying it, do you think? What's your take?
I don't think it's about free speech. I do. Well, I think the issue is about free speech. I think the problem is that we've got with Keir Starmer and many that are in the cabinet and beyond, a situation where people are very, very reluctant to hear the public square on the arena. And we've seen this in a number of areas, the concerns and criticisms around both two-tier policing, but a range of other areas. And look, the idea and the discussion about protecting children, I don't think many people at all would be saying they don't want children to be protected. The question is, how is that done? And do we infantilise the whole of the British public? Do we put measures in place that mean everyone is restricted with, for instance, the necessity to have digital ID, facial recognition, and being forced all to be having to verify who we are to participate in the public square and everyday life, in order to do something which, if we're honest, may not happen anyway, because one thing is lots of young people know everything about VPNs and getting through and around tech. And then there's a bigger concern as well. Like with the Online Safety Act, these things are said, but what happens is that censorship is outsourced then to Silicon Valley with huge fines for big tech companies and huge impositions. And what we see, Jeremy, is that all sorts of events and discussions get pulled down already. So, for instance, at the Together Declaration and Association, we did a discussion about the assisted suicide bill, which is a discussion about what's going on in Parliament. YouTube pulled it down. Now, did YouTube pull it down because they were nasty censors, or did they pull it down because they were concerned people might be encouraged to go and commit suicide because that's the algorithm, so they're worried about it? Well, who knows? But the upshot is that a really important democratic debate that was happening also in Parliament and we were discussing got pulled down.
Can I jump in and say something to you? Is not the real argument amongst the people who know far more about these things than me? They spout free speech, but, you know, free speech works on many, many levels. If you're going to have free speech, which I think is the cornerstone of any democracy, certainly ours, you're going to have to face the fact that you might spend hours with somebody saying to you directly something that you would spend a lifetime disagreeing with. But the essence of a democracy is that you can have these debates. People are very precious when they get criticised. I've said this for years. You touched upon something that I used to do. I'm impervious, mate. I couldn't give a fat rat's backside. And I don't mean this in a nasty way. People have said anything and everything. And I cringe sometimes about people who enter the public eye and get upset. It's part of, unfortunately, society. Yes, I believe there should be controls. I'm going to throw something out that you probably think is mad. I look at this grok thing and think about sexualised images of women and kids. I think it's disgusting. My wife and I make it our life's work to control, help, advise, guide what my kids watch. Maybe parents need to take more responsibility. Maybe it's down to the government or it's down to education. I was brought up, Al, to believe that you should have responsibility for your kids and for yourself.
Absolutely. I think, you know, Elon Musk has done a tremendous amount to really transform what the public square is and to make it free for people to engage and to hear all sorts of ideas. And the antiseptic to terrible ideas and bad ideas is really good ideas and being illuminated. And that's the way free societies work. Because once you start trying to ban and censor and limit things, everybody gets silenced and shut down. Now, the question of the moral upbringing of young people is a really important one. And it's absolutely the case that it's really should be the responsibility of parents and families to, you know, to engage with children, show them the way, and also to say there are certain things that you shouldn't be doing. Take phones away, not allowing certain phones. There's a discussion about under 16s and having phones in school, smartphones, for all sorts of reasons. I think all of those things are important discussions. But these blanket bans and these attacks on what really is the core of our society of freedom. We see around the world people fighting for these freedoms very bravely in terrible circumstances. Your last segment just showed that, for instance, in Iran. And, you know, the idea that, you know, also our leaders talk about freedom in other countries, but cannot uphold the maxim of free, open debate and discussion here, it's terrible. They've now said they're doing a U-turn on digital.
Well, I was going to say very quickly, I haven't got a lot of time. You must welcome the fact that Starmer's done it is his 13th U-turn in 18 months.
It's fantastic news that they're saying that it's not going to be compulsory. However, there's a big but. One login is still being pushed with 8 million directors. We've still got a situation where the Children Wellbeing Schools Bill has given a prescribed digital ID code to children. We know that facial recognition is being implemented everywhere in lots of areas. And so all of these questions, and about under 16-year-olds in Australia and what they're doing and if we should do it here, and that there's an attempt to pursue this infrastructure so that slowly, gradually, it may be the case everyone has to do it. So we're saying it together. There must be a digital bill of rights where people have an absolute right to be able to engage without having to go through verification or digital ID in any way. And that is really important, and we should all support that.
Do you know, I was sitting there listening to you thinking we've come a long way, haven't we, since the old days? You sound very intelligent, and I'm doing my best to keep up. God bless you, mate. Great to have you on. Alan Miller, great to have him on the show. Thank you very much indeed. It's, what is it, 13 minutes to 8? Do you know what I love about this show? Is people from all over the United Kingdom have really different views about everything. Dave, Sir Richard Dalton, who we just had on, ex-Iranian UK ambassador to Iran, is so typical of politicians and diplomats. They talk, observe the useless international and basically do nothing. He himself described the Iranian regime as the most brutal and violent, but do we accept that we can actually change them by negotiation hot air? He cites Sudan and Myanmar, but they are funded. But are they funding terrorist groups like Hamas, Hezbollah and the Houthis? No. They could well be taking direction and funding from Iran. Who knows? The Iranian regime has been and will continue to be a threat to the world, and nothing has affected their evil anti-West, anti-Christian activities. Sir Richard Dalton has talked, criticised and displayed his dislike of Trump before, but gave absolutely no opinion on what or should be done other than to sit down and have a conversation. Dan in Kent, though, I think this is astonishing, and I think he's dead right. I wish commentators would stop aligning Iran with Iraq, frankly. We wrongly invaded Iraq because we believed or were told that Sudan had chemical weapons. It's really simple, Jez. Iran are killing their own people. It's completely different. 12 minutes to 8. Good morning, Neil.
Morning, Jezza. Neil here from Basingstoke. U-turns. Wow. All it is he cannot deliver anything, can he? Says one thing, gets some headlines out of it. Everyone knows it's not going to happen. A few months later, he U-turns, crumbles under the pressure of the press, his backbenchers, or anyone really. Probably Lord Ali, who knows? Crumbles under it, can't deliver a thing. Absolute joke, this guy. Shambles of a man, shambles of a leader. Well, he isn't a leader, is he? He's a middle manager at best. Anyway, keep up the good work. Bye.
I was sat in the tent and he was showing me through photos of his phone, scrolling through. This was barbaric, horrific stuff. Blokes going through walls in vehicles and then jumping out and shooting everyone. You know, his WhatsApp picture was him with a mask on, with a gun like that.
You're in a tent with this guy?
I'm in a tent with this guy, and actually he's just showing me this stuff. I'm just thinking, this is not the kind of bloke you want to be coming to the UK.
Every Monday to Wednesday, midnight until 1, it is Talkback.
Such a shortage of housing. You've got landlords, right, are taking that on board, and it's an absolute disgrace.
Your stories, your opinions, it is your chance to have your say. So they're literally just being rented out as hotels, basically?
Yeah, rent a load of hotels.
Well, that has really...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. It's 8 minutes to 8 o'clock. It's Wednesday. What is it? January 14. We're live across the UK on Talks, the home of common sense, is the home of alarm clock Brits, and the home of Samara Gill. Send our Samara. We launched this roving reporter bit yesterday. Can I just say the response has been phenomenal. This is not about, just go down the road in London. Wherever you are in the UK, right? If you've got a problem with shoplifting, your bins, potholes, antisocial behaviour, no police, I don't know, legal immigrants, anything you want, she'll come to you and she'll do a report and we'll highlight it on Talk. Tomorrow is National Pothole Day. I love this. I want her in the biggest hole anywhere in the UK. Ideas, please, for Samara Gill. Where can she go and sink sink in a pothole. I pointed out yesterday to her that she was saying that you have to, if you've got a pothole, the way to get it filled in is to actually paint spray a Union Jack or the Cross of St George, because the council will be out within a heartbeat and fill it in. SOS, where do you want to send her? Loads of you trying to get in touch. Oh God, Linda, Jeremy, there are two good things Starmer and Labour have done. One, they've united our four nations, England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales, and two, they've finished Labour forever. They'll never get back into power. There's another big news story that's been doing the rounds that you know, these are the sorts of stories that really matter. The water watchdog has aired concern as 23,000 properties remain affected by outages across Kent and Sussex, a day after a major incident was declared in two counties, which has started a massive debate about the water industry, fuelled by this. Watch me, this is quite small writing and I won't wear my glasses. The boss of South Eastern Water has claimed that higher bills are needed to prevent the water shortages that have hit tens of thousands of homes in Kent and Sussex. In a letter to MPs, Chris Train, maybe he should do transport, the company's chairman, said it had been unable to invest in resilience because Ofwat had refused to sign off a proposed increase in bills. He said this meant that the water provider had been unable to properly prepare for the speed of climate change. Wow. Kat Hobbs is the founder of We Own It, an organisation campaigning for public ownership of water. Kat, welcome to the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. Can I just say about Mr Train and Chris Train, and I might be missing the point here, the general public will go, our bills have gone up, you can't control leakages and your system, but most of all, when you talk about blaming everybody else, why don't you stop paying horrendous wages and amounts in bonuses to fat cat bosses and providing such a crap service, frankly, to most of the people who pay your wages in the first place?
Good morning, Jeremy. Well, yes, people will definitely feel that. And I think, you know, the fact that the bosses' salaries are so high is a big issue. However, let's look at the big picture here. What we have is a situation where thousands of people don't even have access to water. This is almost probably the worst example of privatisation failing that we've ever seen. Where is the money going? Yes, it's going to bonuses. Yes, it's going to salaries. But it's going out in dividends to shareholders. Where are the shareholders? They're in Australia, they're in Canada. And actually, what we need to do is bring South East Water and bring all the water companies into public ownership so that they can actually work for the households of this country and for the environment. Because we've seen this happen with South East Water many times now. Investigations are not enough. Calling for the boss to resign is not enough. The solution is public ownership so that we can actually make sure this company works for the people that it's supposed to serve.
I must be really honest with you because I'm old. I suppose in the past I would have agreed with politicians who talked about privatisation because it struck me that so many of the things in this country in the 70s and 80s were so badly run. But there are increasing examples that privatisation of certain things have led to worse services and people just putting their hand in the till. And I think, you know, the 28,000 people in the southeast who are without water, businesses and homes would actually say, would we not be better off if this was owned by the general public, because we would have a vested interest in making it successful? And I guess you could say I've sort of come round to that belief in the last sort of decade or so.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So 7 out of 10 people want public ownership of water. We've just done polling of Thames Water customers. They are desperate for the government to step in and take that company into public ownership. And the truth is, you know, 9 out of 10 countries in the world run services like water in public ownership. So what we're doing in this country is a really extreme ideological experiment where we're saying, even if a service is a natural monopoly and you don't get a choice, even then we're going to have private companies making a profit and that profit flowing out in dividends to shareholders instead of being reinvested. And what we can do if we have public ownership is we can actually have a model, a new model, where we have households, bill payers, sitting on the board of publicly owned companies. We can have workers on the boards. We can have environmental groups.
How does it work, though? We haven't got a lot of time. How do you make something like that work, Kat?
So, for starters, the government needs to withdraw the licences from these companies because, and they can do that on 2 bases. One, these companies are financially collapsing in the case of Thames, for example, but also South East Water is in a very precarious financial situation. But 2, they're not delivering on their statutory duties. So all of this nonsense about a 25-year notice period for their licenses, the government needs to change the law, take back these companies so that the profits can be reinvested. And that's something they have the legal powers to do. And I think it's outrageous that a government that got into power saying they would take back services for public benefit. You know, Keir Starmer committed to bringing water into public ownership.
Oh, come on, love, you didn't believe that. It'll be U-turn. You can't. You didn't believe what he said. He made his 13th U-turn overnight. He's not going to stand by anything he says, to be fair.
Well, yeah, but originally he did say that, right? And people want that. And now we're in a situation where people don't have water. Bills have gone up a huge amount, and the companies want more and more and more. And South East Water has been spending far more on its dividends than on investing in infrastructure. And that is the reason why we're here. Getting rid of the boss won't help. The only thing that will help is bringing that company and all of the water companies, the privatised water companies in England, into public ownership, because they have failed in private hands.
Couldn't agree more. Great to have you on. Kat Hobbs, founder of We Own It, an organisation campaigning for the public ownership of water. I've got 45 seconds. Quick call. Dan in Liverpool, you've literally got 45 seconds. Speak to me.
Can we get Donald Trump to play the next Mrs. Doubtfire movie? Help us on the way, dear.
What?
I want to see Donald Trump play the next Mrs. Doubtfire.
You for Denia Doubtfire, dear. We specialise in the education and development of children, dear. There you are, dear. Lovely show, dear. I can't do it. It's almost 8 o'clock. We're live across the UK. I didn't understand what Dan was saying at all, but we thank him. We'll kick off the next hour. Strong hour. Thank you to Kat Hobbs. Sarah Pochin, the First Lady of Reform, the MP for Runcorn and Helsby, will be here talking all things to do with the country. We'll follow that with the Shadow Foreign Secretary live from London. Priti Patel, big name in the Tory party. All that on breakfast, the news at 8, and keep your calls coming in, your text to 87222. Start your message with the word talk. The news at 8 is next.
It's one of the biggest sporting spectacles on planet Earth, Super Bowl 60, and you could be there. Enter now at talk.tv/win for the chance to score a fantastic 4-day trip for two to the City by the Bay, San Francisco, including tickets to Super Bowl 60 and $2.5 grand in cold hard cash. It's Hail Marys and money. Enter now at talk.tv/win and get set for a gilt-edged trip to the Golden State you'll never forget. For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning, welcome back. Just gone 8 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. It's Talk Breakfast. My name's Jeremy Carr, you unlucky people. We're here till 10 o'clock. Whatever you want to talk about, we want your involvement. We want you on the voice note thing with Christian. What's the thing? 0344 499 1000. Your text to 87222. You're waking up to the news that our Prime Minister, Sir Keith Starlin, has U-turned for the 13th time overnight. Apparently, despite standing up in October and saying that digital ID was a given, overnight, another humiliating U-turn. This is 13. Just give me 30 seconds to lay this out. He has U-turned on digital ID, on the 2-child benefit cap, on income tax, on national insurance, on welfare reforms. I'm going to say $5 billion. Oh, no, I'm not. Farmers' inheritance tax. We'll bring it down. Grooming gangs. Still no date. Utter disgrace. Winter fuel payments. Let's freeze some pensioners. That's not popular. Maybe we won't. Day one workers' rights. Waspy women. Those poor women that were... No, forget them. Trans... whatever. Pub business rates. And green investment. We call him Mr. Flip-Flop for a reason, but it's true. It's absolutely true. More news as well today. You're waking up to the front of the Sun. The In Reaper. There she is. Rachel Thieves, or Richard III, as I call her. She's done such a terrible job with this devastating tax grab on the pub industry, and we were told earlier that 100,000 plus jobs have been lost in that sector, that actually Guinness are putting prices up, alcoholic drinks are being diluted, and that entire industry is on its backside. Loads of people responding. Much news yesterday, Nadeem Zahawi defecting to Reform from the Tory party. Ashley, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Just all these people complaining about Tories going to Reform. I think we've got to kind of get over the fact that everything with regards to the Tories. Look at the people, look at the constituency these people represent, bring more seats in, and then Reform can fight an election. Without the experience, I'm not sure what will happen. I don't think they'll have the ability to win without some people from opposing or other political parties. I think it's sensible on a selective scale, but it is essential.
Thank you, Ashley. 8:05. We're delighted to welcome, she's a weekly feature, the First Lady of Reform, Sarah Poach, in the MP for Runcorn and Helsby. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm well. And before we start, Big Mark, who pushes the buttons and is desperate for a breakfast club, I said I don't think she's an MP. I think she's an estate agent. Nobody has a kitchen that clean.
Do you know what? I get home so late at night and then leave normally early in the morning. I've never, ever even switched my oven on. Honestly, it's terrible. No wonder it's clean.
He said you lived on takeaway. Sarah, let's get straight to it. The fallout, and I'm being straight with you about Nadeem Zahawi yesterday, and I have to be very straight in what I'm going to say to the viewers and listeners this morning. You've got a situation with Reform whereby half of the people who support Reform will say they need more experience. Are you ready for government? Do you need good people? The other half say, well, hold on a minute, why are you inviting all these people or being approached by these people from a party that failed? So two things I want to say. I'm not even sure that you know this, but I spent the weekend as an independent presenter, grilling on camera nigh on 200 would-be Reform MPs for the Scottish and Welsh Parliaments. And 100% as an independent presenter was very impressed with the quality that I saw. Very, very impressed. It was probably a lot better than I imagined it was going to be. That's the first point I'd make. The second is this. For all the millions of people in this country that have come over to Reform because they like what they hear, a huge number of those would be traditional Tories who feel that the Tory party left them. So what's the difference between them and politicians changing their mind?
Look, I left the Tories myself 5 years ago in absolute disgust at what was happening in that Tory party and how they were not representing the will of the people. So I understand that there are Conservatives, former Conservatives out there looking for a home to go to. And Reform is now a party that represents former Conservative views, former Labour views. Look at my constituency of Runcorn and Helsby. We took such a massive part of the Labour vote in that by-election. So we are a home for people that are fed up with the former uni party, as we call it, the Conservatives, the Labour, who have let down everybody in this country.
Do you think that this is just optics? Do you think it would help Reform in this debate if there were high-level Labour MP defections?
Look, you know what? I think what we're looking for are good brains, genuine people that are in this job for the right reason. And I would hope that people realise that I am one of those people, you know, doing it because we care. Yeah. And absolutely, if there are people of that quality in the Labour Party, then yes, of course we need to look at taking those people too. You know, we need a selection of people that represent the views of the British people. It actually doesn't matter really where they've come from. It's about what they want to do next.
Couldn't agree more. Right, let's get to it. I was shocked this morning, Sarah, while you were tidying your kitchen. I came in 4:30, 4:45 to discover that this government under Keir Starmer has abandoned plans to make digital ID cards mandatory for workers just months. Well, it was October, he said it was essential. That's his 13th U-turn. And we can deal in platitudes and throw stuff out, but the hard reality is this country is on its backside. People are really struggling, and they see a leader who is so lacking in, I think, political DNA that almost on a daily basis, anything he says, you want to just think the complete opposite, don't you? It's a disgrace.
The best policies that this Prime Minister are coming out with are the ones he U-turns on. And 13 U-turns, let's just hope that the 14th one is that he U-turns around Downing Street and walks out and lets somebody competent replace him.
Well, Matt Vickers from the Tory party, the deputy chairman who was on this morning, said that he would have money that the next U-turn will be this, and you were a magistrate, this disgustingly ludicrous suggestion that court cases without juries should be the new thing. Because I've always strongly believed, as I know you have, that, you know, having your peers involved safeguards so much about our democracy. They'll have to U-turn on that as well, won't they?
Well, they will, because if nothing, for no other reason, as in so many of these U-turns, their own backbenchers are rebelling. And that is a key driver for so many of the U-turns that the Prime Minister is now embarrassingly, almost on a daily basis, having to announce. But yet, trial by jury, something 20 years in the courts, as you know, that I served, something very, very important that we maintain, and that is the right to have your peers, as you've just said, rule, effectively make the decision in a court. We cannot have a situation that the Labour government want, where one judge is able, without scrutiny, to make decisions on long prison sentences. That's not acceptable. That has never been the way that the British justice system works.
Presumably, you were a magistrate, and maybe I've got this wrong, right? But we've seen examples of judges who will have a political agenda or will have an opinion, and I'm sure that most people have a political agenda or an opinion. Is not the jury idea the safety net and the balance of different opinions so that the evidence can be equated and a decision in sort of common sense terms can be made, rather than an emotional decision based on, well, I really feel strongly about this? Is that not the argument for jury trials?
The whole point of a jury trial is that the judge will guide the jury on the legality side of things, but that the people, the 12 members of the jury, will actually make the decision about whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty. And that combination is what is so important. And it's important because without that, without a jury, then the judge is answerable to nobody. And I talk a lot about the politicization currently of our judicial system. And this is yet another step towards that. So I 100% think he should be binning this policy and U-turning yet again on this policy.
It will definitely happen. Front page of The Sun today, your response, always welcome. The Grim Reaper, well, the Inn Reaper, I should say, Rachel Reeves from Accounts. Guinness up by 4p a pint, some triples to be made weaker. Reeves knew that 5,000 pubs will be hit. Again, I go to Matt Vickers, gave me a fact I didn't know this morning. 118,000 people in the hospitality and pub industry have lost their jobs in the 18 months since this shower came to power. I like the way that worked, to be honest. That was from the top of my head. This is a government that talked about growth, and they're decimating a really important industry, aren't they, Sarah?
You know, look, for a start, I'm a Guinness drinker, so 4 people on a pint, I'm not happy about it. Yeah, I love Guinness.
My wife likes it. My wife likes a Guinness. Morning, Vic. Morning, Ollie. Morning, Iris. It's true. She likes a Guinness and the rugby. I didn't know that. It's quite
I have a Guinness at the rugby too. And Lee tried to make me have a pint of Guinness the other night. And I said, I can't possibly walk around the bar in the House of Commons carrying a pint. It's not very ladylike.
Can I ask Sarah Pochin, the First Lady of Reform, can you split the G?
Oh, I don't know.
Do you know what that means?
Could we try that privately, Jeremy, and then maybe we could do it one morning? I'm not sure what I'm getting myself into there.
My wife's listening. Split the G means that you drink the pint of Guinness to the exact moment where the G on the glass is. It's nothing to do with a piece of string. Anyway, we're moving on. It's absolutely fine. Christian's nearly fallen off his chair. Excellent. No, seriously. I mean, she is destroying a business. a part of our society that is so important for so many reasons.
Do you know what? A pub is like a mini parliament, and that's what Labour hates. They want to stymie debate. They want to stop at free speech. We know that. And a pub is exactly where we should be able to go in, bash out politics, give our opinions, and that is what the Labour government hates about pubs. But
isn't it ironic that they're trying to stop us going to pubs when most of their MPs have been banned from pubs by landlords who are so angry?
Do you know? I read one pub a day has had to shut under this Labour government. This is the bedrock of our culture, our society. Brits love a pub, and they are destroying that.
I couldn't agree more. Loads in the news, and there's loads of things that I'd love your opinion on. Obviously, I don't know. Did you see the story about the Chinese embassy in London?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Samara Gill, and should how long have you? We won't play it now. We'll play it in a bit. But she basically went to investigate yesterday, our new roving reporter, and quite rightly, there seems to be real fear amongst people that Starmer's sort of become Peking's poodle. This massive, great building's going to be built right next door to sort of a security place for Britain, where all sorts of information is held. And that he seems to want to do nothing about it. But we need to wise up to this issue.
Listen, this is something that reform would absolutely not allow to happen. So for anyone that doesn't know, the Chinese new super embassy is being allowed to be built just by our Tower of London, right in the heart of our capital city. And not only that, there's talk now about the sort of basements, the underground offices are mere feet away or meters away for modern people from very important cabling, communications network. And the Americans and our government should be highly concerned about the risk. Look, the Chinese, they want to sabotage us. They like to spy on us. We know that they've had spies in the very heart of government, and I have no doubt that there will still be spies in the heart of our government today. Why are we letting them get closer and closer? Look, we need to have good relations with the Chinese. They are an important global
force. But on a balanced level, not kowtowing, right? Not kowtowing.
And not right in the heart of our capital city.
Couldn't agree more. Sarah, just before we let you go to clean your kitchen, yesterday was probably one of those bizarre moments of all doing this job with Starmer, because on the one hand, he jumped up and down and said, and I'd love your take on this, X should be banned. The Grok AI is a disgrace. The sexualisation of non-consequential intimate images of kids, fundamentally wrong. And let me just say, I've been saying it for 2 days, absolutely agree. Completely agree. High tech needs to be brought to task. But if you just go for X, Keir, then you get accused of free speech charges, because what about the other platforms? And then just to make himself look like a complete idiot, he then launches his latest policy on immigration via TikTok, which just left us all going, what is this man on? Overnight, I don't know if you know this news, X has now restricted Grok from generating sexualised images of women and kids, which is great. Starmer will say this is a win. However, it's not dealt yet with requests to put men in bikinis. They're going to allow that. So that picture of Starmer in a bikini will continue to be shown. But where are you on the free speech debate? Where's reform on this?
Look, it's really awful what has been happening, and obviously, I would come down hard on any social media platform that allows the sexualization of women and men in this way. It's truly horrible, and I do believe that there are female MPs, even we were talking about it yesterday in the chamber, who have had this happen to them. Look, I don't look at these platforms for this very reason, so I have no idea what's out there, if anything, about myself, but I just don't go looking for it. But the fact is, of course, we have to clamp down on it, but we cannot ban X. If it's not X, it's going to be another platform. There will always be some way, unfortunately, of people that want to create this type of horrible imagery, finding a way to do so. So it's not about clamping down on X. It's about working with these platforms to try and make sure they police in every possible way they can to stop this happening.
I agree. And also what this asks, you think about the pubs. you think about smoking, you think about X. What happened to saying to your public, we trust you to make your own judgment? You know, if I'm these images, I'm a father of 6, disgusting, and I'd round the buggers up and throw them away the key. But what about the people that are sourcing this? You know, we live in a country, and I'm sorry to have to say this, it go down like a lead balloon with certain people, where our Prime Minister wants to restrict X for his own reasons and has done absolutely nothing to put Hugh Edwards in jail and get back the money he gets every year in a pension. He's a paedophile walking around the streets of this country, having looked at and done what he did with all of those children. Outrageous. I just think it's priorities. I just think we ought to be able to say to people, OK, there will always be people who make bad decisions, but, you know, we trust you to make the right decision, to go to the pub, to have a discussion, to not do that. I don't know. It just sounds wrong to me, you know.
But you're right. It's about demand and supply. Look, if people weren't looking at these images, then they wouldn't be out there, would they? And this stuff wouldn't be being developed.
Absolutely
so
right.
I think there's a lot to do. You're absolutely bang on when you say if people don't look at it, then it won't be out there. But there is this balance about free speech. And so, you know, as I said, it's not about banning X. It's about making sure that these sites are policed appropriately. But we must retain freedom of speech. And I know that the left will criticise reform, criticise people like me for saying that. But we know I'm a massive advocate for the safety of women and girls, children, you know, in all different areas. You talked about grooming gangs. You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
Look, I am taking up that mantle for reform. I spent some time yesterday talking to Maggie Oliver. I am going to be going in so hard on this stuff because it's all. Do
you know what somebody said this morning to Matt Vickers? And I know that the Kemi Badenoch gets 6 questions, Nigel might get 1, I don't know. The very first question this viewer said, every single day to Keir Starmer should be, one of the most disgusting stains on our society is that grooming gang that has not been followed through by police for whatever reasons, concerned that they're going to alienate a particular part of this country. That should be the first question to this slippery toad every single day. When are you going to have this inquiry and do right by our children? I think that's absolutely nailed on. Your kitchen is the clean, and Mark is in awe of your kitchen. But Sarah, on a serious note, you do an amazing job. We thank you very much indeed. We'll speak to you very soon. Fantastic. Sarah Pochin, Reform's MP for Runcorn and Helsby there on breakfast, 8:20. We're live across the United Kingdom. Good morning, Jay.
Morning, Jeremy. Great show. I just want to say, with the debate with the reform thing, with Conservatives defecting and maybe a Labour candidate here and there, I actually think it's a good thing. I'm very pro-Nigel, though there's certain people I'd love to have in the party, Rupert Lowe, etc., which is a shame, Ben Habib. But I'm pro-Nigel in the sense of he's picking the best and the most centralist sort of people from each party and putting them together. Not everyone in the Conservatives or Labour completely agrees with, say, a Starmer or a Badenoch or how the Conservatives used to be. So in my opinion, picking the quality, you know, it's like when you go and pick some flowers, isn't it, from the garage, you know, to take home to the missus or whatever. And you always look for the good ones. You don't want the ones in there with the dead bits on, do you? That's exactly what they're doing.
It's interesting you don't want them in there with the dead bits on them. 8:22, this is Jeremy Carlin Talks, the home of common sense. It's the home of Alarm Clock Brits, where you come to have your say. We're delighted to have your company. 0344 499 1000 for your voice notes, 87222. And let's cross live to Victoria Gardens in Westminster and say a very good morning to the Shadow Foreign Secretary, Dame Priti Patel. Good morning, Priti. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Have we ever spoken or not?
I think we have, Jeremy. I think we have.
I think it's my age again, Priti. Welcome. I come in every day and I try... Oh, there are the idiots behind you. I hope you don't mind. Yes, these people should go and get jobs. Ignore them.
Well, we'll carry on our conversation. How about that?
Quite agree. I came in this morning to, not shocking news, 13th U-turn. I mean, this government to be taken seriously by anybody, and we labelled them actually for you, I'm sure you could, but digital ID, the 2-child cap benefit, income tax, NI, welfare, farmers' inheritance tax, the dreadful grooming gangs inquiry, still no date, winter fuel, day one workers' rights, the list goes on and on. How does this get gentleman seriously, Priti?
Isn't it?
How does he expect to be taken seriously?
No one can take Keir Starmer seriously at all. He's completely weak. He's feeble, he's spineless, I could go on. But, you know, people just don't respect him or his government because there's a complete lack of substance there. Look at what they're doing to our country, the state of our economy, the way in which people are losing their jobs, they're putting up taxes to pay for all these ridiculous things like more welfare, for example, rather than actually believing in our country and in the ingenuity of the British people to really empower them to get on in life. And so I think people are sick and tired of this government, and no one will be surprised to hear there's yet another U-turn. And, you know, I think they're realising how unpopular they are basically across the country. And Labour MPs, even in Parliament yesterday, Jeremy, while we're in there, you know, there was a discussion about the Chinese embassy, and even Labour MPs are all lining up to criticise their own government over the fact that Labour government can't even stand up for our national security, and they're too busy kowtowing to China and wanting to sort of build this Chinese spy hub, super embassy, which is not in our national interest whatsoever.
Couldn't agree more. As the Shadow Foreign Secretary, I wanted to talk to you about that, and I also wanted to talk to you about Iran. Let's start with the Chinese embassy. He was branded China's useful idiot, or the Peking poodle. This mega embassy in London, growing backlash. The fact is, it's right in the centre of London. There are this sort of hidden room. There are concerns about the security issues, and we have, as you said, definitive proof that they have sent spies. There's been problems in the House of Commons. Why have we not got a stronger response to this? Why do you think he is kowtowing to the Chinese government on this, Pretty?
Well, first of all, I mean, he is a useful idiot, and he's kowtowing to China because, of course, his government are responsible for destroying the British economy and really inflicting a lot of economic harm to our country. And he's desperate for a trade deal. He's desperate for stronger trade relations with China. So rather than start from a position of strength, which should be putting British interests first, our national security first, he's starting from a position of weakness, where he's just basically saying, I'm going to give you the green light for the embassy if you can give us some more trade arrangements and some business deals, which is absolutely terrible and completely wrong. And of course, Jeremy, you will know this, that with this application, you know, we've all seen sort of generic plans where we can see the landscaping and what the building might look on the outside, how it might look on the outside. But we do not know what it looks like on the inside. And there are redacted plans that have been put forward where huge parts of these plans are all blacked out. In fact, 208 rooms in the basement where we do not know what those rooms are going to look like, what their purposes will be like. And we've been questioning the government. We've even asked them, do they have the plans for those detailed rooms? And we just get silence from them. And in Parliament yesterday, when the Minister was asked about this, he kept just saying that there's a planning process and he's not able to talk about the detail. And it looks like they don't know the detail.
What do you suspect those rooms?
They've been lying to the country.
What would you suspect those rooms could be used for, Pretty?
Well, let's put it this way. They're not rooms for processing visa applications, are they? Or for having just general generic meeting rooms whatsoever. These are rooms that are strategically located near very sensitive infrastructure, internet infrastructure, cabling infrastructure, and of course that'll be a threat to our national security. On top of that, we know exactly the type of regressive techniques that the Chinese use. They're persecuting people of Chinese and Hong Kong origin in our own country, and so it's absolutely right that China provides a full disclosure as to what those rooms are going to be used for, how they're going to be set up, and of course the British government shamefully are not providing any information. And I have to say, they should be embarrassed.
Yep.
Their MPs and their ministers should be embarrassed when they get called to Parliament, come on programmes such as your programme, go on national broadcast, and they can't even answer basic questions what those rooms are going to be used for.
I won't surprise you, they won't come on this programme, but there we go, very quickly. Well, not very quickly. Donald, I mean, you made a statement in the House yesterday, Pretty. You said we stand with the Iranians, their calls for freedom and the end of a despotic regime. I absolutely agree. Donald Trump overnight saying help is on the way, writing on Truth Social, warning that the regime's killers and abusers, we believe upwards 2,500 civilians have reportedly been killed. And I stand absolutely with what you said and what he said, and I think this regime, we should remember repeatedly, for all those people who go, oh, Trump's losing it. No, let's get this right. Sanctions have not done enough, and while we're at it, the mad mullahs of Tehran have funded every single disgusting terrorist group in the Middle East for years. Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah.
That's right.
Do you think that now is the time that this regime can and will fall? Do you think that military action is needed and is the right answer?
So we don't know yet, do we, in terms of what the president will do. But thank God people are speaking up for people that are dying and fighting for their freedom. We have no idea, quite frankly, what it's like to live under such a repressive regime. And we look at the brave and the courageous individuals that are campaigning and fighting for their freedom. They should be supported. There's no question about that. They really should be. But at the same time, I think Britain's response has been feeble. We hear the government calling for sanctions, but we have our own security capabilities, our offensive cyber capabilities. We know that Iranian proxies operate in our country. We should be taking them down. And that's really what we're calling on the British government to do, to stand up, be robust. Our national security depends upon this as well, Jeremy. So I think we have to wait and see what America proposes. It's completely hypothetical right now. But just remember this, last year, the United States literally took action in Iran against their nuclear capabilities. That regime is weakened. We have a Labour government that sat on the fence and would not even say if they supported that action. We support the people of Iran in their quest for freedom, and that's why it's important Britain doesn't stand idly by at this important moment.
Couple of things before you go, and it's great to speak to you, and I mean this. Couple of things. I was very critical of your leader and the Tories, obviously at the end, and being straight, and how slow out of the traps I felt Kemi had been. But you'll be buoyed by an opinion poll yesterday that showed the Conservatives on the rise, both the mad Green man and Reform dropping and Labour not moving. And do you feel that there is now more momentum from a party that does, and let's be honest, had lost the ear of the British public? Why do you think it's changed a little bit?
So for a number of reasons, we're very robust as a party, and Kemi is a very strong and robust leader. You know, she calls a spade, and I think the British people want to see politicians who are authentic and with conviction. There's no question about that. That's a big contrast to the feebleness and the weakness that we see with Keir Starmer, who I don't even think he knows what he stands for. No. But also because we have a plan, you know, on our economy, on backing businesses, backing our farmers, getting people back to work all over again. We believe in that. That's our instincts as Conservatives. We're showing already where the government could make savings, £47 billion of savings, to reinvest in our defence, in our economies, in our schools. You know, really standing up for Britain and Britain's place in the world. That's a very sharp contrast to Keir Starmer and this dreadful Labour government. But also it's a contrast to other political parties that just, you know, they go on about their pet projects, their ideology, and people don't want that in our country. People want politicians that will speak and stand tall and proud for our country and stand up for them and give them their voice back as well, and that's exactly what the Conservative Party is doing.
Final question for you, Pretty. Are you sad to see Nadeem Zahawi leave the Tories, defecting to Reform yesterday?
Well, of course, you know, and it's a matter for him, there's no doubt about that. And he stood down, don't forget, at the last general election. So he's not actively involved in our party per se anymore. But at the end of the day, you know, it's only the Conservative Party that is a party for our country. As I said, you know, coming up with the policies and the solutions for Britain. And we're working night and day, I can tell you and your viewers that, because we believe in our country. We want our country to be successful. And I can tell you now, we are going to defy everything this dreadful Labour government is doing to our country and get Britain back working again.
I know you've got a sense of humour, so you won't mind me asking you the next question, because those idiots behind you've just dealt with them so professionally. Didn't you once dance with Nigel Farage? Am I going to wake up one morning and come in here and hear that Dame Priti Patel has made the move across to Reform?
I will not be doing that, of course, and you're referring to our party conference about 3 years ago now, actually. So, you know, I've got friends across the political spectrum, but I can tell you now, I'm a lifelong, die-hard Conservative. I've been a member of my party for over 30 years, and you can say, Jeremy, that's hard to believe, but I have been an activist for over 30 years.
That's hard to believe, Priti. You don't look old enough. I can't believe
our Conservative values.
Listen, it's great to have you on, and I really appreciate it. And genuinely, I'm going to say something. It's so good that the Tory party puts somebody up and we talk every day, because you won't be surprised here. Reform will talk to us. Nothing from the Labour Party. They won't come anywhere near us. They won't answer the questions. So it's very good, with everything that's gone on, that the Tories come out, and we really appreciate it. Go in the warm. Thank you very much indeed. Dame Priti Patel, Shadow Foreign Secretary on Talk Breakfast.
Breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
Something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a Talk exclusive we've been looking at.
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain? Yeah. Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 25 to 9. We're live across the UK. The First Lady of Westminster, Julia Hartley-Brewer, sounding fantastic. And here from 10 o'clock this morning, we'll talk medical stuff in a tick. But your involvement is always great. Thank you for the text. Morning, Jez. Yvette Cooper urges the Ayatollah to adhere to the Iranian people's right to fundamental protest. Does she not know there's been no fundamental rights in Iran for 40 years? Stupidest goddamn statement I've ever heard. I don't want to have a go at Yvette Cooper. We look across the political spectrum. We've just spoken to Dame Priti Patel, the Deputy Foreign Secretary. Would you have her deal with Iran if she was in government right now, or Yvette Cooper? I think you can make your own mind up from that. Good morning to Quinn, who says, I love this name, Quinn. My name's Quinn. If Starmer keeps doing U-turns, hopefully he'll disappear up his own exhaust pipe. I'd change that from arse. Brett's in Basingstoke. Jez, loving the shower as usual. I think he meant show, unless he just got out of the shower and the shower was great. I wonder how many MPs are up at this time of the morning. I bet they're still in bed, sleeping off hangovers and asking for Starmer to do another U-turn. He's done more U-turns than a London taxi. And if you live in London, or if you come to London and you try and get a taxi, you'll understand how bloody difficult it is for all the black cab drivers, because that idiot, Sadiq Khan, has made it impossible to drive a cab and is ruining people's lives. Hello to Sean Cooper. There's a lot of attention on pubs, Jez, and rightly so. However, these businesses' rate increases are devastating to all small businesses. The high street will be finished by Labour in 2026. That's Sean in Bridlington. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Jeremy. It's Mark in Durham. Just on my way to work. I work in a brewery, you know, all part of the pub industry, which the government's on trying to destroy. It's an absolute bloody disgrace. We're watching pubs, breweries going out of business day by day by day. And we're okay, you know, we're not in a bad position, but it just gets harder and harder and harder, and we take less and less wages for the same job. So, yeah, thanks, government. Cheers. All the best.
Lots of people saying, I mean, pubs, Sir Keir Starmer isn't only destroying pubs, he's destroying Britain, says Sean in Gloucester. Right, sometimes when you're doing a live show, stuff hits you, and I'd like to say good morning to Scott in Virginia in the United States. I think you've texted the wrong show, Scott. All those body modifications and makeup are manufactured by the beauty industry, not men. Men want natural and casual. Stop putting pressure on yourself for looking however you do. Men don't care. Right, I've got to be honest with you, Christian and I don't know whether we've suddenly morphed into some sort of channel that discusses, you know, boob jobs. I've no idea anyway. Scott in Virginia, Get your head straight, mate. Right, listen, there was a story yesterday which we sort of touched upon. Not much was made upon it. Very important to run it with you very quickly now. Nottingham University Hospital's NHS Trust yesterday declaring a critical incident. 4 hospital trusts in the southeast of England declaring critical incidents yesterday. Those incidents mean increasing levels of staff sickness, lack of equipment, more respiratory cases, norovirus. Four, this is really important, trust in the southeast saying there's major problems. We'll say good morning to Dr. Ron Daniels, the Chief Medical Officer at UK Sepsis Trust. Ron, good morning. How are you?
Morning, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I was going to say to you, probably different to other people would, we live in an age where you can't see a doctor, where you go to the hospital and these poor people working round the clock, you have to wait about 17 hours unless, you know, you end up in a corridor. I'm not having a go at the that's the way the NHS seems. And now it's even worse. What does a critical incident mean? Put it in layperson's terms for me.
It essentially means that that particular hospital is at or over capacity. So it means that ambulances are waiting outside with often very sick people inside them. The emergency department can't receive those patients. Once people are in the emergency department, there's not a ward bed available for them. So we used to, if you think back a number of years, we used to have the 4-hour trolley wait that we talked about a lot. That would be a dream these days. We often see quite sick patients in our emergency departments for 24, 48 hours at a time. The system is at breaking point.
I always want to ask the medical profession, not to have an argument, but because I want to get your take. Because one of the things that strikes me is that when you go to hospital and you get by the frustration of having to wait for 4 days, that the job the staff do under the situation that they're in, and whether it's resources or management, how do we, the question, right, Ron, they say, how do we improve the NHS? Do we need more money, or do we need to get rid of all those people that are manning essential typewriters that don't save people's lives? I think that we still look at the NHS on this sort of pedestal. I think the country has changed. I think that we have an older and bigger population. I think there are undoubtedly people taking advantage of the NHS. I think there has been mismanagement. I think it's a whole collation of things. Do you agree?
I couldn't agree more, to be honest. And not only is our population growing and aging, but expectations, particularly in people who are approaching the natural end of life, are much higher than they ever were. And then coupled with that, we've got treatments that are more invasive, more expensive. The whole thing has expanded. And we're talking not just about, the very important life-saving treatments like anti-cancer treatments, but the sort of surgery we offer people in the final years of life has become more and more invasive, more and more costly. People are spending longer in hospital, despite all of our efforts to reduce hospital length of stay, particularly when people have social care issues. They are spending often weeks and weeks in hospital, even after they're physically better.
What can the general public, this is another bugbear of mine, won't go down very well, what can the general public do to ease the pressure on the NHS? Do people turn up willy-nilly at hospital when they shouldn't?
Well, stay healthy is the most important thing. So, and thank you for having the ambulance with the Sepsis Trust messaging on there in the imagery. But stay healthy. This is about, no one's, I'm not going to say stop drinking alcohol, but do so moderately. I would possibly say try not to take drugs, but if you do so sensibly and moderately. Eat healthily, exercise. These are the most important things we can do to stay healthy. And then if we do become unwell, infectious illness is very, very common, particularly at this time of year. Most people with infectious illness do not need to go to hospital.
But I guess just jumping in, the problem is that you would, of all ages, go to your GP. And when there's 7 million people waiting to see a doctor, with respect to you, I've had it said to me, you need to go to the hospital, or you phone, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. I remember when my son was a few months old, we phoned 111. My son at that age, who couldn't speak, would have been more intelligent, more switched on, and could have answered my questions better than the idiot at the end of the line. I'm being completely serious, and so I think a lot of people perhaps rush to hospital because they're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, and we have to remember 111 call operators are not clinical staff. They've had a few weeks of training, little more than that. And it's so much of this relies upon their intelligence, as you say, their human factors. Now, I'm lucky. My family can get to see our GP the same day. I live in the countryside.
Well, no, just see you. You're a doctor, man. Dad, I'm feeling ill, Dad. Can you deal with it, Dad? You don't need to go to see a GP.
So I'm an intensive care doctor. I'm of no use to anyone unless you're about to die.
Brilliant. I'll remember that. We got his number. If I'm about to die on my backside on this show, I'm phoning Ron. I'm interested, though, because what is obvious and what isn't said a lot of the time, because it becomes very easy to go, the bloody NHS. And I've said it. My father-in-law was left on a trolley for 17 hours. Absolute disgrace, right? Disgrace. Paid in all of his life. Can't have it. But I also don't go with the people that go, you need another 200 billion. I've been to a hospital recently where I was told by my mate's wife who works there that this guy comes in and they give him 2 paracetamol, packet of 60, have to throw away the other 58 because of health and hygiene reasons. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. So there's all sorts of reasons, but my big thing is we need to get it. We also need to remove the rose-tinted spectacles and look at the problems that are in with the NHS and not feel bad about doing it, just to sum up, Ron.
I again think you're absolutely right. We spend enormous amounts of money on things that aren't directly responsible for improving outcomes and saving patients' lives. We need to improve efficiency. Now, that is not just around reducing managers, it's around making the procedures we do, the interventions we do, the treatments we do rapid, safe, and cost effective. And there's a huge amount of opportunity there.
You're my favourite person that's been on all day. We'll have you back, Dr. Wright. Anyway, just get his number in case I feel like I'm about to die. He says he can sort that out. Hello to Neil. He says, morning, Jez. Great interview with Priti Patel. Shame about the protesters behind. Perhaps you could invite them on to give us an idea of their wise thinking. Yeah, because let's be honest, they're not going to go to work. Those idiots, right, that stand behind whatever the politician that's there, honestly, get a job. Nobody gives a toss about your stupid boards or your stupid opinion. Actually, maybe Neil's right. Come into a radio or TV studio and have an opinion, but you just look what you are. Stupid. Julia's in Mansfield. Morning, Jez. Those Muppets behind Priti Patel really get on my teats. I like what you've done there. She ought to put an umbrella up and hope it doesn't poke them in the gonads. Julia's on it. Hello to Enid. Morning, Jez. Just check this latest U-turn. I get the impression it's only the mandatory bit that's changed. Many employers will still have to confirm a right to work and may choose digital proof. Thanks, Jezza. Morning, Damon from Wigan. Can this Prime Minister please do his job? If he's going to play a driving instructor, can he do a 3-point turn instead of just U-turns all the time? Right. Tim's in Southampton. This is about the water company story. The failure of the water company is not the ownership model, it's the failure of the publicly owned regulator. Interesting. By renationalising the water companies, you just recreate the NHS model within the water industry. Finally, name one successfully run public industry. Very interesting point, isn't it? Oh, hello, Sarah. Hi, Jez. Although irritating that the boss of South East Water blamed Ofwat, it is the regulator that frustrates the repairs to infrastructure. We own it, failed to make the case for the costs of renationalisation. Our taxes would increase, services would not improve. It is the regulator that needs its authority changed. Sarah West in Sussex by the Sea, with or without water. We're going to say a very good morning in Selby. I think that's in Yorkshire. Pam, you're on breakfast. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's my name. How are you, Pam?
I'm very well, thank you. A little bit concerned when I was hearing all this about the U-turn because I've been very sceptical about that. And I just happened to read a post this morning which actually explains it much more thoroughly, I think.
Go on, then.
Well, it says it's not a U-turn at all. It's still going to the same destination, but on a different route and a bit slower. And that word compulsory has been softened for now, that's all. The government hasn't abandoned its immediate compulsion because the system, the infrastructure, they're still building all the processes and they've not changed their policy direction. It's just purely a tactical retreat, not a strategic reversal.
Do you mean strategic, a tactical retreat because of the outcry from the general public?
Absolutely.
I don't know who you vote for. That's not my business. I don't know if you used to vote for the Labour Party, but I'm always interested in the people that listen and watch and their opinions. Tell me what you make. Not cheap words. What the sort of the inner workings of Keir Starmer are beyond confusing to me. I said it the other day, I just don't believe there's anything genuinely, authentically political inside him. I don't know. I said earlier, and I got a bit of kickback, I would detest and hate everything that Jeremy Corbyn stands for, but I'm begrudgingly beginning to admit that at least he stood at an election on a platform of stuff that he believed in, that he'd stick to. This guy's got nothing that I think's concrete.
No, he's an empty vessel. He's been programmed by... He's a puppet. He's a puppet, and I believe for higher bodies like the WEF or the Fabian Society, he's programmed to do certain things. He has no emotion. He's got no personal ideology. He's just been told what to do, is my view.
Couldn't agree more. Lovely to have you on. How's Selby this morning? Well?
Cold.
Of course it's cold. Well, it's Britain, isn't it? We're in winter. Thanks for tuning in, Pam. Tell your friends if you got any. 10 to 9, we're live across the UK. If you want to be on, you know what to do. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. We're back with sport and your calls on The Breakfast Show next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
The Times just reported that Keir Starmer has abandoned plans for mandatory digital ID for workers amid concerns that it will undermine public trust in the scheme. Instead, they will be optional when they are introduced in 2029, with workers given the choice of whether to use other documents to verify their identity digitally instead.
UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Unbelievable. Welcome back. Breaking news. Now, you will know this story that emanated in Birmingham when Aston Villa was supposed to play a Europa Football League game against Maccabi Tel Aviv, an Israeli team. It was announced a couple of weeks before the match that their fans, Maccabi Tel Aviv, were banned from coming. Excuses were made by the local police, including the chief constable, Craig Guilford, that, you know, they were a raucous bunch, there'd been violence, there'd been things. And then these videos started to emerge from Birmingham, from the Muslim community, saying, you Jewish people, if you come here, you're in trouble. This is unbelievable. Many people, he appeared before the Defence Select Committee, the chief constable. He couldn't even answer his own name. He looked as shifty as well, even more shifty than Starmer, if that's possible. We have been talking about this for days. He has just admitted to misleading MPs by using artificial intelligence. Craig Guilford, the Chief Constable of West Midlands Police, has just unbelievably announced that he did mislead MPs. He told the Home Affairs Committee in a letter that his force's use of AI had mistakenly revealed a previous match that never happened. The fictitious match between Maccabi Tel Aviv and West Ham was used by the force as part of their justification for banning the Israeli fans from travelling to attend the game against Aston Villa. He has been outed, Craig Guilford, as a complete liar. This has been BS from the moment it happened. This is anti-Semitic. This is within a police force of the United Kingdom. And if Craig Guilford does not resign by lunchtime, and if the Home Secretary does not have the courage to sack this duplicitous human being, there is something badly wrong. Craig Guilford, you need to go. Mark, can you push the button, please?
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
Unbelievable news there. Tom Barkley, football writer for Sun Sport. How are you, Tom?
I'm good, Jeremy. How are you?
I thought you were Tom Barkley, son of the man that owns the Rolls-Royce franchise. I thought to myself, what's he doing on the radio and television? Tom.
I wish.
I did something last night that I don't really do because I get up at the crack of sparrows. I sat and watched Manchester City against my second beloved Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. Man City are beginning to look like the team they were a year ago. Semenyo, the new signing from Bournemouth, fantastic. Completely outplayed Newcastle, and I'm a Newcastle fanish.
Yeah, starting to purr, aren't they? It's quite worrying for every other team. I suppose presumably Arsenal more than anyone, with Man City breathing down the neck. Semenyo's come in from Bournemouth and taken to it like a duck to water. 2 games, 2 goals, 2 man of the match appearances. And to be fair, he could have even had a second last night. A bit of a farce after the weekend with the FA Cup with no VAR. We had a situation where fans were waiting 5.5 minutes to find out what happened when Semenyo's goal was eventually chalked off. But I guess the most important thing is the point you make, really. City looking really strong, so many options. Jeremy Doku now playing really well, coming back into it. Ryan Cherky can't stop scoring when he comes off the bench. They're just spoiled for choice.
They've got quality all over the pitch. Second semi-final. I think, listen, I like Newcastle. They won it last year. I think it will be very difficult to go to the Etihad Stadium and retrieve that. Tonight, of course, Arsenal-Chelsea. All eyes on that 2-legged semi-finals. Also yesterday, the new interim Man United manager, Michael Carrick, don't know why I did that, vows to salvage a season for a team that's only got another 17 games because they're out the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, they're out of Europe. Man United are pretty dire, aren't they, right now?
They are, and yet the points gap to the top 4, let alone the top 5, is only 3 points. So Michael Carrick's point is that there's still plenty to play for, plenty to fight for. The back page headline is Fight Club. He's given it, the sort of rhetoric of, come on, let's still salvage something. Yeah, you're right. They're out of both the cups, meaning that this is going to be the shortest Man United season in 111 years, 40 games, because obviously they're not in Europe. But not being in Europe gives them a great opportunity, doesn't it? When all the other teams are going to be starting to tire in the second half of the season, if they're not already. If he can bring it all together and get that spirit that he knows so well from playing under Fergie in the heyday of United, which seems such a long time ago.
Can
now.
I say something to you? Who do you support?
I'm a Newcastle fan.
Good boy, well done. The thing about Man United, it's a bit like, sorry, you weren't listening, but the NHS. People need to forget, not forget Alex Ferguson. I've met him, he's amazing. You're not going to replicate that. It's a bit like, take your blue rose-tinted spectacles off of the NHS. Take your rose-tinted spectacles off and look at what Man United are today. Their ground's leaking. They've had the most dodgy transfer business, a succession of managers. I think upwards of 90 million in payouts they've paid. It's almost, they search for this, come in, be like Sir Alex. You've got Gary Bloody Neville carping from the background. You make decisions like Amarin. You spend all that money on a man whose system you don't actually agree with. So they just need to start. Like, I support West Ham. I want us to be relegated because I want a complete broom. I want them all... You're laughing. I'm being serious. I want them all out. The owners, the players, I want to start from scratch.
Risky, though, with West Ham. You go down, it might not be so easy to start again, but I understand with how badly it's going. I covered Tottenham this weekend's game. It's absolutely massive, isn't it, between Spurs and West Ham. But Man United, yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right. We've got to stop living in the past, but it's hard, isn't it? Because it's still, for many people, still there. It's not far away enough, the Fergie years, for it not to be used as context. And the likes of Neville Keane being on a TV all the time is a constant reminder of what they once were.
You got to worry as a Newcastle fan that Eddie Howe should be, in my mind, won't be, but the next England manager. Tom Barkley, football writer, Sun Sport, all the big stories on a daily basis on the back of the UK's #1 newspaper. Almost 9 o'clock, we're live across the UK, an hour on breakfast ahead of Julia Hartley-Brewer. We've got Annabelle Denham, great to have her on, the deputy comment editor for The Telegraph, and we'll get dodgy Simon Calder from somewhere in England talking about the travel crisis, and your calls and your texts, all of that after the news at 9, which is next on Talk Breakfast.
It's one of the biggest sporting spectacles on planet Earth. Super Bowl 60. And you could be there. Enter now at talk.tv/win for the chance to score a fantastic 4-day trip for two to the City by the Bay, San Francisco, including tickets to Super Bowl 60 and $2.5 grand in cold hard cash. It's Hail Marys and money. Enter now at talk.tv/win and get set for a gilt-edged trip to the Golden State you'll never forget. For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at TalkSport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Morning, my friends. Just gone 9 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. An hour to go on Breakfast for Wednesday ahead of Julia Hartley-Brewer. And as ever, your involvement on the station of common sense and where the nation comes to speak. 0344 499 1000 for your voice notes to Christian. You can also text 87222. Let's take 5. We've talked about 13 U-turns. We've talked about a government that, is destroying the pub industry, a government that can't be trusted because it doesn't see what the Chinese are up to. But there was some breaking news ahead of the news, which I think is astonishing. The chief constable at the centre of that Maccabi Tel Aviv drama in the Midlands, they said those Maccabi Tel Aviv fans cannot come to the match. They can't come to the match because they're dangerous, they're dodgy, they've caused all sorts of problems. We have been on and on about this on Talk for the last few months, simply by saying this isn't right. This guy, you can see him on screen, the chief constable, Craig Guilford, went before the MPs, the Home Affairs Committee, and everybody went, he's dodgy, there's something not right. You've done it. Anyway, listen, he's just apologised. We were right. The chief constable has written, he's written to the MPs and said that his force, the West Midlands force, used AI mistakenly when they suggested that Maccabi Tel Aviv had played a game against my team, West Ham. Their fans had been violent, which is why they shouldn't be sent to Birmingham. That was fake. The fact is, Craig Guilford, you should resign. You were nominated by 14 local leaders from a mosque. You're too terrified to allow the Israeli team to come to Birmingham because, like Starmer, you are policing, I have to say this, from a reason of not the difference between right and wrong, but because you think you want to placate the people that put you where you are. That is what is wrong. That is not racist. That is not far right. That is a fact. Craig Guilford should have resigned along with that letter, 0344 499 1000, as if you think that hadn't got me going. Rachel Reeves, Richard III, has risen. It's 2026. It's the 14th of January. And a minute ago, Richard Reeves gave her first interview, of course, on the BBC, who won't have asked her anything at all of any merit. But all she's managed to do is confuse us even more. You see, overnight, Keir Starmer said, I'm abandoning plans to make digital ID cards mandatory for workers. I know I said in October they're really important, but I think today they're not. She's muddied the waters somewhat. Morning, Rach.
Do you think this story's been a bit overwritten? We are saying that you will need mandatory digital ID to be able to work in the UK. Now, the difference is whether that has to be a one piece of ID, a digital ID card, or whether it could be an e-visa or an e-passport. And we're pretty relaxed about what form that takes.
The Prime Minister wasn't very relaxed about it when he stood at a lectern only a few weeks ago and said this is absolutely going to happen. It's really important to have a digital ID that we're going to introduce, not passports.
Well, no, but digital. We don't have digital passports today, as you know. This will be about having digital checks that you have to verify that you can work in the UK. And there's a reason for this, because at the moment, people are undercut by illegal, cheap labour, which drives down wages and standards and conditions for people who do have a right to work in the UK. And we're going to root that out with these digital checks. And we're consulting, we're going to be consulting on what exact form that takes.
Now, I don't want to be unfair, because the last time we all laid into her, she started crying. Here's what I must give you a little bit of context, OK? Before that clip, she said, when questioned about the 13 U-turns, and I can list them, I don't recognise that. What, well, you don't know about them because they're 13 things that you've U-turned, but that doesn't recognise that. But then this, the digital ID thing, he says, we're abandoning plans to make digital ID cards mandatory. She says you'll still need sort of qualification, one piece of sort of ID. Could be a visa, an e-passport, but we don't have e-passports, she said. And it's not digital ID. To be honest with you, Christian, I was confused at 6 o'clock, right? I'm even more bloody confused now. This is, with the greatest respect, that is the Labour government encompassing 24 hours of complete madness. He brings something out, then he gets an uproar and everybody goes, you're barking. Oh, well, I'll cancel it. Now I mean, it is, honestly, my daughter's 2 and has got dolls that don't speak that are more competent than Rachel Reeves, right? Rachel Reeves has just confused everybody. So apparently you might well be able to still, or should still have digital ID, but it won't be a digital ID card. It could be an e-passport, but we don't have any e-passports. Or it could be a visa, but we haven't got any digital visas. And if you haven't got... Honestly, do you know what? Seriously, complete bloody incompetence. Anna in Surrey. I think Starmer's very deserving of the title, Mr. Floppy. Yes, it's childish, and before you say that, I am better than that, but that was in another life. We're delighted to welcome, now, I haven't spoken to my next guest for a long time, quality, and delighted to have her on, Annabel Denham, Deputy Content Editor of The Telegraph. How are you, Annabel? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Jeremy. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm, though, slightly confused, my darling, because I was confused about the digital ID, and now Rachel Reeves has managed to confuse me even more. Does she make any sense to you, Annabel Denham?
No, she doesn't. I think many British voters now are just struck constantly by this sense of discombobulation. It's almost impossible to follow where this Labour government is going. And even if it goes in one direction, it swiftly backtracks, waters down, or U-turns altogether on a particular policy. I think what's quite interesting about digital IDs, Jeremy, is that this actually, if you looked at polling before Labour were toying with making the announcement, it was a popular policy with the British electorate. So it's almost as though Keir Starmer's got the reverse Midas touch, even when he's trying to roll out a policy which has broad public support. People very quickly turn their backs on it. It's certainly not something that I ever supported. I viewed it as an infringement on our civil liberties. We are not a papers, please society. It would cost a fortune and take years, and it would be vulnerable to hacking and power cuts and foreign sabotage. And, you know, you have to think about how in the wrong hands it would be abused, but importantly it would also simply have been used by the government of the day as a way of masking their failure to clamp down on illegal immigration. It's just penalising the law-abiding majority because they're unable to tackle the small boats problem. So, you know, ultimately the fact that the government is U-turning on this would be a positive move.
Why though? Why? Just explain to me the job that you do, how close you are to the politics of this country and the politicians is brilliant. But just in layperson's terms, right? You've got a Prime Minister who seemingly comes up with ideas, although there doesn't seem to be much planning. If you look at it in real terms, they had 14 years to do that. The woman who planned it all was gone within the first 100 days. But he seems to announce these policies, and then there's a universal condemnation, whether it's from the press or the public or his own backbench, and then he changes his mind. And he looks confused and agitated when people attack him. I want to listen to you, Annabelle, because just now on the BBC, Rachel Reeves said, I don't recognise this. Well, they've U-turned on the digital ID card, on the two-child benefit cap, on income tax, on national insurance, on welfare reforms. They've U-turned on the farmers' inheritance tax, the grooming gangs inquiry, winter fuel payments, of course, day one workers' rights, those poor waspy women, the trans right, yeah, whatever, pub business rates and green investment. Now, by anybody's standards, that's either sheer incompetence, just a complete lack of intelligence, or he doesn't care. But I genuinely, I mean, somebody told me, and you'll laugh, you say reverse Midas touch, his approval rating is lower than Majero before he was airlifted out of Venezuela. President Majero, who sort of didn't treat his people well, he had a higher approval rating than Keir Starmer, Annabelle.
Well, I think one of the Prime Minister's big problems, perhaps his biggest problem, is that he's a technocrat, he's a managerialist, he doesn't really seem to have any kind of guiding philosophy. It's quite striking that 18 months into his administration, nobody is really able to coherently define Starmerism. We don't know what the man stands for. Perhaps he doesn't know what he stands for, and he's therefore allowing himself to be perpetually buffeted by events. Now, if you spoke to Labour MPs before the Christmas recess, they were crying out for the Prime Minister to go away and spend that time coming up with a plan, a new, fresh agenda for the months in the run-up to what they expect will be a very bruising period over the May elections. And unfortunately, Starmer hasn't done anything of the sort. He's come back and he's giving us yet more of the same, the shambles and the chaos and the U-turns. And every time that he U-turns, it may placate a certain group, maybe the Parliamentary Labour Party or certain vested interests or the British public, generally speaking, but it's chipping away at his authority, and it's really irking Labour backbenchers who just a few weeks ago were being sent out to defend these policies. You know, they're being, like the Grand Old Duke of York, one of them was saying this morning, you know, they're sent out to go and defend these policies. And then there's a U-turn, and they individually, on a personal level, look quite silly. So there's the problem that good comms is no substitute for poor policy. You know, they can go out and they can try and defend this, but ultimately they can't sell something that's ultimately a damp squib. But every single time that they're forced to, they're going to be more reluctant to do so the next time. And their faith in Keir Starmer and his abilities and their confidence in him is being eroded. So it ultimately, it's just a complete disaster. And you just struggle to see how Starmer is going to regain any of that lost authority.
They're circling, because old Streeting, who 10 years ago said, you know, I made no secret of the fact that I will be the Prime Minister in 10 years. I think he has a problem with the Labour membership, who are so deranged they'd vote for Ed Miliband. But he did an interview in the Mail yesterday, Streeting blasts Starmer over Labour U-turns, almost before this latest U-turn, which has been completely and utterly befuddled by Rachel Thebes. It strikes me that this government has very little direction, very little DNA politically. Can I ask your response to that break? I have been going on about this story for weeks. I'm going to say I'm delighted. I'm not. I'm angry. Craig Guilford, the Chief Constable of the West Midlands, has just admitted misleading the Home Affairs Committee in a letter, saying that his force's use of AI had mistakenly revealed a previous match that never happened. This fictitious match between my team, West Ham, and Maccabi Tel Aviv was used by Guilford and his force as part of their justification for banning Israeli fans from attending a game against Aston Villa last year. Cue lots of sort of, really, what's going on here? And then we started to see, Annabelle, these videos. Akbar Ahmed, this, I'm not going to say what I think, Muslim, put out this video from outside Aston Villa saying, Jews aren't welcome, go home, we're going to do this. And you think to yourself, what's the reality of this? I believe it was anti-Semitic. Craig Guilford's still got a job. Let me just read something to you from Paul in Fife, an ex-copper, Annabelle. He says, Jez, just how many Craig Guilfords do we have in our polices? I guarantee he is not alone, but should we be surprised? After all, we have a PM who lied his way into power and who has continued to lie to us on a daily basis. Our institutions, which served us for centuries, in my mind, are now corrupt. As a retired police officer, I weep for the police service I once served so proudly. Annabelle.
Well, clearly, this is a dereliction of duty on so many fronts and total incompetence, if not something more sinister. And there are very serious questions which need to be answered. One of which is why the police force was so desperate to find a justification for this ban that they were forced to use AI in order to do so. Why was it that Craig Guilford was found to be misleading the Select Committee when he was grilled by them? Why was this decision made to begin with? You've suggested that it had anti-Semitism in some form at its roots. But yesterday I was at the Law briefing, and a question was asked over whether the Prime Minister felt that honesty was an important quality characteristic to have in a senior figure in Britain's police force. Which the answer is obviously yes. So his position now is surely untenable, and I do hope that Shabana Mahmood will withdraw confidence.
Well, does she have the power? I was going to ask you, does the Home Secretary have power to sack this guy or not?
No, that will lie with the Labour Police and Crime Commissioner. However, I think were Shabana Mahmood, who I think seems to be an extremely competent politician and has been very...
But apparently she knew for 8 days this was happening and did nothing about it, though.
Well, nevertheless, I think, when it comes to issues like immigration, that she has proven herself to be stronger, more robust than many other Labour politicians. And she is viewed as a rising star within the party. I'm not to say that she hasn't made certain missteps when it comes to this particular case, but I hope that she does withdraw confidence, because I think that would be an important symbolic gesture, which would just pile more pressure on the Labour PCC to sack Craig Guilford. I just cannot see how he can possibly remain in post after this outrageous scandal.
Couldn't agree more. Great piece by you today, opinion piece in the Daily Telegraph. Go and buy it, people. This is interesting to me. Women are fed up with Labour, but they're not yet turning to Reform. As Reform dips to a polo not seen since April, can female voters come to the aid of the party? A Mumsnet survey seems to suggest that women are flocking to Nige, with a higher share of the site's users now intending to vote Reform. There's a temptation to view this as the final piece in the Reform puzzle, the moment when female voters, long thought immune to Farage's allure, set aside any distaste towards the insurgent party. Talk to me, that's fascinating.
Well, when I first saw this survey on Mumsnet, I was slightly sceptical. I mean, for a start, the site isn't necessarily demographically representative, but I also suspected that insofar as women are increasingly voting for Reform, they're coming over from the Conservative Party rather than having had some ideological conversion and previously being on the centre-left and then suddenly deciding that they wanted to vote Reform. And really what I was trying to do in the piece was drill down into the reasons why it is that since the 2015 general election, women have been more likely to parties than they have right-wing parties, and I think it's due to things like them being overrepresented in the public sector, in soft private sector jobs such as HR. I think that they have more interaction often with the welfare state, not necessarily as recipients of it, but in roles such as carers or being employees of the government. And so I just tried to sort of look into the reasons why it might be that women tend to be more left-wing. You've got things like the feminisation of universities and the change in the sorts of disciplines that undergraduates are now studying, because around 57% of undergrads are female. Nevertheless, one thing I would say is obviously that is one single poll. It does seem to be a bit of an aberration. A YouGov poll putting Reform at 24%. Let's not forget that they were polling on average at around 28% last year.
Do you think, I mean, listen, I'm interested to get all views. We've had Dame Priti Patel, we've had Sarah Pochin. 163 opinion polls the Reform Party have led in. A slight dip, you're right, by 2%. Also, that madman that runs the Greens, you're far too posh, but I call him Hypnotits. I can't be doing with it. It just drives me insane. He drives me mad. He's dipped by 2. There's no doubt Badenoch has been slightly resurgent. There's no doubt she's finally getting her message out there, and that has resonated, I think. Her performances at Prime Minister's Question Time are certainly a step up. But, of course, I think you'd agree, Annabelle, that the Tory party... In most areas, people would say she might be great, the messaging might be great, but they need to almost suffer and apologise for a few years because we stopped listening to them. Do you think that the Nigel Farage bubble is on the verge of bursting? Do you think this is a blip? What do you make of it in your experience?
I think that Reform will continue to poll in the high 20s throughout 2026. I think they're going to perform very well in the May elections. We could be in for a big shock in Wales. They may come second in Scotland. They're now starting to devote a lot of attention and resources to getting the vote north of the border. So I think I anticipate that it will be a strong year for Reform. You're right that Kemi Badenoch has seen a slight revival. I think that's consequence of the fact that people are increasingly talking about and are increasingly worried about the state of the economy, and many voters still view the Conservatives as a safe pair of hands with the tiller. Nevertheless, Jeremy, as you say, there's still that very strong sense of betrayal among many members of the electorate, not least the traditional Tory base, that they failed to deliver on their promises consistently over 14 years, specifically on immigration. And Labour have obviously collapsed, as we talked about. Support for Labour cratered, and much quicker than anybody was expecting. Yeah. And I think the Tories simply weren't prepared for that. And that has allowed Nigel Farage and Reform to fill the vacuum. Now, obviously we had the defection this week of Nadeem Zahawi. It would be interesting to see how many more defections we might get to Reform over the course of this year. And each one presents certain risks, as you all know. On the one hand, it makes voters think that Reform is the alternative to the Labour Party. It gives them that credibility. But many people want to vote Reform because they feel so disillusioned with the Conservative Party.
But there is a point I made earlier about that, because actually there was a real split yesterday when we did this story, and again today. I would say it was 50-50 from, that's fantastic, because on the one hand people say we need experience, we need people who know how the machinations of government work, and the others who are saying, no, this is becoming like a retirement home. I think Zahawi's story, Annabelle, was somewhat clouded, and you won't be surprised to hear that the people who hated him moving over yesterday were talking about one thing and one thing only, which was the vaccines. And I don't want to get into all of that because we've moved on gratefully. But I will say this, just in defence of the move, I'm just giving you both sides. Think about the millions of people who have said to opinion pollsters that they will vote for Reform. I would respectfully suggest a huge number are disillusioned Tories, because those values of Toryism, strong borders, low taxation, law and order, blah, 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 don't seem to be encapsulated in any party right now apart from Reform. So you could argue that as voters move from Reform, from the Conservatives to Reform, that why shouldn't politicians? But I do, like you, understand that there's a sort of clamour for freshness. The cesspit of Westminster, let's drain it and let's start afresh. But then you have to balance the argument. Well, they've all got no experience. So I don't know. It's a really interesting one. But do you believe, just to finish, do you believe that Nigel Farage will be the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom?
I mean, look, crystal ball gazing is a fool's errand, Jeremy.
I know. That's why I asked you at Denham.
Based on the information that we have at the moment, my suspicion is that Reform will be the largest single party without a majority. So if Nigel Farage does want to be the next occupant of number 10, he is going to have to go into some sort of agreement, perhaps a coalition with the Conservative Party. And indeed, I do think that there are many voters at the moment who would like to see some signal from both sides that there will be a willingness to work together, because at the end of the day, what many voters do not want is some dreadful Lib, Lab, Greens, your party, independence coalition, and they will vote for the party that they think.
I think we have to bear in mind, though, the one thing I would say to finish is I think there are millions of people who might well vote for reform who wouldn't perhaps admit it right now. That would be my opinion. Annabelle, listen, we'd love to have you on regularly. Great piece in the Telegraph today. Women are fed up with Labour, but they're not yet turning to reform. Thank you so much indeed for being on. Annabelle Denham, 9:25. We're live across the UK. To the producer of the Jeremy Kyle Show, Kyle is obsessed with his age. He's always going on about being 60. Well, it's about bloody time he started acting it. Sorry, I'm just sitting here dribbling. Is that what 60-year-olds do? This is brilliant, by the way, from Reg. Well, that's finally put my mind to rest, Jez. Thanks for playing the Rachel Reeves clip. I've decided now she's less coherent on a TV interview than Kamala Harris. That'll tell you something. Morning, Sarah.
Morning, Jezza. Me again. I'm just out on my dog walks. I always listen to your show when I'm out with the dog. Stop saying that bloody idiot from West Midlands, what's his name? Craig Guilford, is it? Stop saying he should resign. He should not resign. He needs to be sacked. That way he stands a good chance of having his bloody pension taken away from him. He should not resign because he'll get to keep all the perks and he doesn't deserve any. He's a disgusting individual and he needs to be sacked today, and I would really want to see that happen. I hope somebody set up a petition to get it going. I shall be looking for that when I get home. Might even have a go at setting one up myself. Anyway, no, he needs to go, but he needs to be sacked. He doesn't need to resign. It's just my opinion, but I think I'm absolutely right. Okay, bye.
Walkies! Sarah walking a dog on the West Midlands Police Chief, Craig Guilford. Let's go to Glasgow. Mark, you're on the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. Only a minute. What you got, kidder?
Good morning, Jeremy. Right, very briefly, everyone over 30 will remember the Mandelson story that broke, and then we had a 4 months solid of a tiny story about Jonathan Ross upsetting somebody's daughter or niece or something or other, an actor's niece. Story ran for months and months and months, and it's typical because Mandelson got caught with some Russian oligarch. We now have the same nonsense of when McSweeney, the undeclared money from McSweeney for Starmer, and Mandelson caught in his baby doll dressing gown in a lovely photograph with the Epstein. And then immediately, to cover that one up with some big story, we had digital ID rolled out. Doesn't appear anywhere in manifestos. It just came out and covered them up for 4 months, so they scrambled. And now that Mandelson has done his little sob story to the BBC, it's all better. We can drop them.
I don't think Peter. Listen, I don't disagree with you. I appreciate your call. I don't think Mandelson will ever come back into the public eye. I mean, he might be seen occasionally having a pee in the corner of a street in London, but I think that the Epstein thing is a step too far. 9:28. Julia at 10. Next, Simon Calder. They told us HS2 was dead. It was going to cost too much money, despite the fact they've wasted millions already. Now we hear there's going to be a new Birmingham to Manchester rail line, mate. Where will Calder be? Probably on a yacht in Greece. Back in 3.
Mark Dolan. Join me every weekend from 6 a.m. for the stories that matter to you. We talk politics, we talk news, we talk entertainment, we talk about everything that affects your life. There's only one place to start your weekend, the home of common sense. Talk Breakfast on Talk. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Friday, Saturday and Sunday here on the home of common sense.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, half an hour to go. Oh, we've got cloud now. Oh, we've got a different background. Oh, look at that. Did you change that, Mark? Did you think we'd have a little fresh up? There you are. We've got two backgrounds. It's taken 4 years to get there, I'm joking. One is when it's slightly windy, although outside it's sunny. But listen, you can have what you want. 0344 499 1000. Now, Rachel Reeves gets a bit of stick on this show, and quite rightly so. You might just have seen a video of her trying to explain that, well, there was going to be digital ID cards, then overnight there weren't, and then she just sort of said there were. Big news story that we picked up on that we wanted to share with you. The government will commit, I mean, really? To a new £45 billion rail link between Birmingham and Newcastle, reviving H2S's northern phase in all but name. The move comes as Labour tries to see off the threat of Nigel Farage's reform, with Sir Keir at risk of losing dozens of parliamentary seats across the north at the next general election. So HS2 was going to be this great idea about levelling up, turned out to be the biggest drain on money in history. The Labour Party were against it. So Farage is doing well in the red wall seat, so they've now decided to spend £45 billion on building a rail link from Birmingham to Manchester. So we thought, we'll all tune in to the BBC, because she won't come here, Rachel Thieves. She won't. And we'll see if she gets asked a question about that and whether she can make sense of it. This is Rachel Reeves, part 2 on the new railway.
So we're dividing this up into 3 phases. The first is in Yorkshire, better connecting Bradford, Leeds, York and Sheffield. The next phase is between Manchester and Liverpool, but going via Manchester Airport. It was good to see Manchester Airport on the telly this morning, and Warrington. And then the third phase is between Leeds and Manchester. And the reason that is the third phase is that we are already upgrading the Transpennine route between Leeds and Manchester with more trains, bigger trains, and more frequent service.
More trains in the third phase and bigger trains. Honestly, I've given up even believing the woman's competent. Let's go to Newcastle train station. I've been there so many times. Nice cup of coffee in the first class lounge, not. Simon Calder, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Nice to see you, Jeremy. It is an astonishing turn of events. Yes, exactly right. The government is sort of promising some money, except that they're not. And you can imagine the conversation which took place in the Treasury, which is they want to spend more money, this lot, on the railways.
No, don't be unfair.
We're going to stop that.
This is how the conversation went. Phase 1's going to go from... She looks like Zippy out of bloody Rainbow. Honestly, it's unbelievable. We've got a country that is literally on its knees financially, and just... They don't seem to think we can see through this BS side. They haven't got 45 billion quid in a month of Sundays. We owe about 120 billion, don't we?
Yeah, no, there isn't any money today. There's lots of jam tomorrow that's being promised. Yeah. And you mentioned also the Birmingham to Manchester link, which is actually the one bit of infrastructure that would transform the country more than any other. That is number 4 on the list. And the 2050. That is not the train at 10 to 9 tonight from here to Darlington. It is the year in which we might possibly get that new link. And as you can hear, the cross-country train to Plymouth has just come into the station. It's an old diesel. It makes a heck of a row, but that's because we've not invested in electrification.
Well, you know I go to Newcastle a lot on the excellent LNER, very nice sausage roll. But I have to tell you genuinely, there's the beautiful Newcastle, my second home. The cross-country trains are in a bar. They're absolutely, sorry, they're dreadful, Si. Do you believe, as a person whose life is excited by things like railways, do you believe that this is just political games? We don't think this is going to happen. This is ridiculous, isn't it?
Look, I can see, I've been looking back at what successive governments have said. And basically what they've said today is exactly what Patrick McLaughlin, who was the last Transport Secretary but 6, said in 2015. This is all exactly the same stuff. It's oh, yeah, you live in the north of England, you've got terrible trains. Don't worry, we're going to make them better, just not yet.
Hello
And of
to
course,
all you northern people who have outside toilets. We're going to set up a little bit of a sort of train system to make you plebs sort of run around a bit. Well done, jolly good. Awful. I mean, honestly, there's more success in Newcastle. There's more secure businesses than there is anywhere where I live.
I honestly can't believe this. There's another train. If you're watching, that's the another Trans-Pennine. Sorry, that's a cross-country train going to Edinburgh.
Oh, there we go.
It makes a heck of a row.
Don't worry, we can hear you. It's quite nice to have your dreadful voice being drowned out, to be honest. It's gone. Bless his heart.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, no, nothing is going to change now.
No.
Even that. So you played that clip of Rachel Reeves. That first bit from Leeds to Bradford to Sheffield to York. There aren't going to be any work starting until the 2030s. Then the bit in the northwest.
I think we should improve it. No disrespect. I love this man, by the way. I jest with him. He's a legend. The link isn't great. Ha ha! The link. Si, thank you. He does an amazing job. Works with the. He's just so funny. We used to do stuff on drive time and try and work out what it was going to be. Travel correspondent for the Independent and Good Egg. There he is, Simon Calder at Newcastle. It's great, isn't it? I can phone Australia, get straight through to me, mate, right? But if I try and speak to a bloke in Newcastle... But this is a story about a Northern Rail deal that's going to cost 45 billion quid, which is going to link... Well, I'm not going to listen to Rachel Reeves. I have absolutely no idea what it's going to link. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not trying to be cynical. And I'm going to the ad break by saying a very good morning to Sharon.
So, Jez, she's now saying that illegals are illegal. They're not irregular, they're illegal. They're now saying that they're not having a digital ID. We've got passports, we've got driving licences, as we well know. What do we have to do to get... These people are just dangerous. They've just got nothing. They're just grasping at straws all the time. We'll introduce this, we'll backtrack. We'll introduce that, we'll backtrack. What's going on in this country? Good show, Jez. Sharon from Yorkshire.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
I don't know why, but there's a spring in my step and my hat is at a jaunty angle. 21 minutes to 10 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. New backdrop. The clouds are going at such a fast speed. There'll be a meeting about that. 0344 499 1000 for your voice notes. Text to 87222. Julia here, of course, from 10 o'clock. Rob says, how about a national insurance number instead of digital ID? That would be novel. Oops, we already have that. Does that mean national insurance numbers have never worked? I've had mine for 50 years and wouldn't have frankly got a job without it. I've no idea. Daryl's in Blackburn. Morning, Daryl. He says, Jez, Rachel Reeves saying that we could use an e-passport. I think she means your normal passport, which contains all biometric detail. I think she's thick. Well, honestly, I don't want to be rude, but I think you might be right. Graham McKircher, Jez, Rachel from Customer Services come out saying digital ID is a means to stop illegals working. Surely it's easy just to stop illegals entering the United Kingdom in the first place. Graham, don't be so cynical and stupid. That's far too commonsensical. Morning to Chris Howarth. Jez, Was that Bridget Phillipson with regard to 13 U-turns saying they're not U-turns, they weren't in the manifesto? If so, isn't that a full admission that they've duped the country? Chris in Lancashire, I think they have duped the country. Steve says, digital ID, so we have to use another form of digital ID so we can assume driving licences. Haven't they been giving driving licences to illegals, though? Driving licences were basically achieving the square root of... Yeah, absolutely. Matthew Trowell. I love that name. Do you think he does a lot of gardening? I don't even know where that's come from. Morning, Jez. I filed a complaint against West Midlands Police accusing them of racism in the Maccabi Tel Aviv case the very same day that the Commissioner appeared in Parliament. Very interesting. That's the response to that breaking news. That Craig Guilford, the Chief Constable at the centre of the Maccabi ban controversy, has admitted to lying to MPs. The information that is force provided as the justification for banning Jewish fans, which we quite rightly believe is anti-Semitic, was that they played another game against my team and it was dreadful. Lies. He should go. Apparently the Home Secretary can't sack him, right? Well, she should absolutely make it known to the local police and crime commissioner that Craig Guilford's a disgrace. Morning, Jez. Tim, great announcement by Thieves. New railways by 2055. HS2 going to be 10 years late and cost 10 times more. And finally, Graham in Birmingham. Does Starmer think that the downtrodden northerners will go to the pub tonight, talk about a train service between Sheffield and Bradford, and then say I'm voting Labour? No, the thing is, Graham, right, let's just be honest. They won't go by train because there aren't any. They won't go to the pub because he wants to shut all pubs down, and they daren't ever even send each other a message because they'll probably be arrested and put in jail for hurty words. We are going to pick up this story, front page of The Sun, been doing it all morning. The Inn Reaper. There she is, the woman who makes Kamala Harris on TV look intelligent. Rachel Thieves, Guinness up by 4p a pint, some tipples to be even weaker. We say a very good morning to Pete Colley, landlord at Horseshoe Inn round the corner. I've never been. Pete Colley, it's a dog's life, isn't it?
It certainly is at the moment, unfortunately. Yes, it's not great news to be a publican at the moment.
The story everywhere is about how pubs are being targeted. In fact, Matt Vickers, the deputy chairman of the Tory party, gave me a figure earlier, Pete, that said that 118,000 people in the pub and hospitality business had lost their jobs in the 18 months since Labour came to power. Give us some idea of how difficult it is now to sustain a pub business.
Well, it's funny you should say that because we've had to get rid of a pub, which we lost 4 full-time staff and about 3 part-time staff. We just couldn't afford to keep it going. And we're not able now to put any money into buying new pubs, which before we were looking at doing. Unfortunately, we've had to cut back on everything, cut back on staff, cut back on just about everything. Even our hours, we're having to cut back on hours because it's just not worth it. It's going to bankrupt us if we carry on as we are.
Do we think that... actually, let's just do a clip. I've got another clip. Don't go anywhere. This is Rachel Reeves, who's completely and utterly confused me on digital ID, who's completely and utterly knows nothing about the map of the United Kingdom when talking about a train set. I mean, a track she's going to build. This is her... By the way, if you understand the pub situation, in about 2 minutes you won't. This is Thieves on pubs.
It is always sad when a business closes, especially a much-loved local business. But the business rates haven't come in yet. This is not that rates have gone up and now we're trying to find a solution. These changes are coming in April, so we've still got time to make sure that
businesses need to plan, though, don't they?
Right. Yeah, and people know that there is additional support coming. We've already put in £4.3 billion, so we weren't immune to these challenges, but a lot of extra money went in to support businesses during the pandemic, rightly so. It's not affordable to keep that temporary relief forever. It is good now that pubs and restaurants and bars and shops are open properly again, and so, of course, that temporary support does need to be unwound.
Pete, does that make any sense to you as a landlord?
No, she might as well have been speaking Swahili, to be honest with you.
I know, I just, they talk about, the thing that annoyed me from your point of view, from your business's point of view in the hospitality sector, is they talked about growth. I've always believed that the small business is the very lifeblood of growth, because you build something, you're aspirational, people get employed, and the place and the money sort of permeates down. Do you think there's a bigger issue with the Labour Party? Do you think they don't like the pub things? And by the way, also, have you banned the Labour Party from your pub yet?
we have banned the Labour MPs. Not that they'd ever come in, I don't think, but although you don't know. Okay, running a pub is almost the same as running a country. It's not. You just need to have the basics right. She unfortunately does not have any of the basics right. So she can say whatever she wants about, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But if you haven't got the basics right, it's never ever going to work. Most publicans could do her job in their sleep because you have a certain amount of money coming in. You think, right, okay, I can only spend that a certain amount of money, and then that is what happens at the end of it. You either make a profit or you don't make a profit. Now with her, she's just chucking money. It's like, I seem to remember her when she was the shadow chancellor. Wasn't it right that she couldn't even get her credit card right? I think she sort of had all sorts of problems with her credit card because she didn't understand basic economics. So how she got the job, which we probably know is because she's a woman and she speaks a bit funny. Seems to me that that's a Keir Starmer thing. And to be honest with you, I think that if Peppa Pig could tick the boxes, I think the Peppa Pig would have been the...
Peppa Pig would have been a better chance. The thing about her is, though, she's symptomatic of the... Listen, she's symptomatic of the Labour Party, though, isn't she? I mean, here it is. Here's the reality. That Labour, you talked about what I call basic economics, which is how I was brought up. You spend what you've got, and if you go over, you're in debt, right? This party has either printed money in the past, or it's which is why inflation was always 30% under Labour, or it spends more than we've got, goes cap in hand to the IMF, we end up skint, and we have another 10 years before we're back on our feet. Pete, you guys do an amazing job, though. I know the industry is being attacked by this government, but we thank you and keep at it. And I'm not banned, am I, from the horseshoeing?
No, you're not banned, but you can certainly come in, Jeremy. We might even buy you half a larder.
Good man. Well, a pint. That'd be tight. Pete Colley, landlord, horse show in London. Thank you very much indeed. Pub pain. It's true. 118,000 people have lost their businesses, lost their jobs in that sector, the hospitality and pub industry, since this disgusting, it's just a devastating tax grab by Rachel Reeves. But when you look at her, when you listen to her, God, she confuses, doesn't she? Talk breakfast.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me every weekend from 6 a.m. for the stories that matter to you. We talk politics, we talk news, we talk entertainment, we talk about everything that affects your life. There's only one place to start your weekend, the home of common sense. Talk Breakfast on Talk. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Friday, Saturday and Sunday here on the home of common sense.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 10 to 10. Julia Hartley-Brewer here from 10 o'clock, the Queen of Westminster, in the studio in about 7 minutes to tell us what's coming up. We'll also have Ian Collins, the Housewives' Choice, from 1 o'clock this afternoon. We will continue to discuss the main news stories that you've woken up to. You're dealing with Labour, forced into another humiliating U-turn last night. They abandoned plans for mandatory digital ID. Mandatory. That's what we thought. We spent the whole show saying, so you've abandoned them. Then Rachel Reeves went on the BBC and went, well, we're not really... completely confusing everybody, so nobody really knows where they stand. But what we are all absolutely in agreement with is that this party, this government, just doesn't even know its backside from its elbow. Morning, Ian.
Hi, Jeremy. It's Ian from East Grinstead. Heidi Alexander saying that they haven't done 13 U-turns and actually some of the things weren't in their manifesto. You've got to laugh out loud because most of the things they've done weren't in their manifesto. I mean, what a complete clown she is.
This is the Transport Secretary. She also was asked to come on the show and said, no, I'm not coming on, because they don't like criticism. 10 to 10. Rachel Thieves, says Paul, from Customer Services, stalling and grasping for words, just like Stalin does. It's not getting any better, is it? Emma says, in my opinion, all drivers should have to pass our driving test before getting a bloody licence and prove they have a right to be here. Oh, we're back to digital ID. Dave's in East Yorkshire. Morning, Dave. Why did I do that? Jez, the one U-turn I would like to hear is Starmer saying, I will not be calling an early I will not be I will be calling. I don't know what you're saying. Jim. Labour are responsible for HS2. Gordon Brown unleashed the scheme as a parting kick in the teeth to the middle and rural England he loathes. Mr Angry in Huddersfield, sorry, but when Thieves came on the telly, I had to mute it. Right. David, I think Maccabi Tel Aviv should sue the West Midlands Police Chief for lying. This is this breaking news story that Craig Guilford, the head of the West Midlands Police Force, has admitted to lying to MPs, and the only reason he lied is he said his force had used AI mistakenly. No, you're a slippery toad. You know you were lying. You should resign. You're a disgrace, and you're an example of why the police have no trust anymore in this country. Ted Stewart, now the Chief Constable of West Midlands, has admitted that fake evidence was used to lead Parliament. He definitely should resign along with the rest of the management. We would be the laughing stock of the world, honestly, if the world could see how stupid we are nowadays. Debbie, Starmer will give the workers the choice to use other ID to verify their identity digitally instead. What other type of digital ID is there? Isn't that just saying you have to have digital ID? Do you know what? Let's be really honest on this show. We're all completely and utterly confused by almost everything that this government talks about or promises. I certainly am. We're going to go to Burnley, to a bloke called Slim. Hello.
Hello, Jeddah.
Is your second name Fast? See what I did there? Yeah, see what I did?
Yeah, very good, yeah. No, it's a nickname I've had for years, and I quite like it, to be honest.
What's your real name?
I don't want to devote... My real first name is Martin.
Martin. I'd stick with Slim. Right, crack on. We've only got a minute.
Yeah, very good, yeah. I just want to say, I'm 70 years old, and never before have I known it in this country where you can go out and talk to someone in the street. It doesn't even need to be someone you know. You could just simply go up to a stranger in the street and say, guess what the idiot has done now? And they'll know exactly who you're talking about without giving any names.
It's just extraordinary, isn't it? And then, you know, people say to me, "Do you come in every day destined to have a go at Starmer?" And I don't want to. I want to talk other. I do. I've asked Labour to come on. I'd like to talk about other stuff, but in the space of a 4-hour programme this morning, we've gone from. I know we said digital ID was really important, October, to we're going to abandon it, to 3 hours later an even more incoherent human being in Rachel Reeves comes on and completely bloody confuses me.
I couldn't listen to her. So, and I was being polite by using the word idiot to describe a certain person. I don't need to mention any names. Like I say, everybody knows who it is, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I really hope you continue up the good work and get rid of him help to get rid of him as soon as possible, mate. I really do.
Thank you, and spread the word about Talk. And also, Mr. Fast, it's always a pleasure. Pauline Crew, digital ID is a waste of money. Taxation is too high. Why charge business rates anyway? Don't these businesses pay tax on their earnings already? The taxation system needs simplifying, and small businesses should be allowed to thrive. Let those that work hard be financially rewarded. Oh, no, no, no. Why should aspiration and success be overtaxed to be made to look like a bad thing? I have to tell you this, Pauline Crew, I agree with everything you say. We have a government that doesn't like aspiration. It doesn't like success. That is the point. Socialism would say that everybody should have the same money. Right? So Sir Keir Starmer, who's got a £4 million property portfolio, why don't you sell your houses and give it to all the people who you purport to care about the whole time? That's the problem with socialism, right? They want to spend everybody else's money to do what they believe is the right thing. Let's go to, is it Sussex? Robert, good morning, how are you?
Good morning. I'm very well. I'm just in Donewood, just outside East Grinstead. So we've actually got our water here, thank God. But, but yeah, how are you?
Well, I think I've got water, but we should have. I'm all right. I've been up for about 11 hours. I look about... No, I'm joking. I haven't got a lot of time because Julia's on the way. What do you want?
Quick then, iPhones. Right, I was basically want to respond to the Secretary of State where she's saying she this is to do with digital ID. She thinks she says she can do everything on her iPhone. She doesn't need to carry cash. She doesn't have a card. And she's saying, it's simple, it's easy. That is not innovation in the world we are actually living in. You need face-to-face. I was talking to a lady who worked for IBM, who oversaw the AI revolution coming. And she said one of the biggest jobs that's going to expand in 2026 is human intelligence. People, human beings, correcting all the mistakes of AI. It's ridiculous. I can't wait to see the back of this lot. Also, they're creatures from 2020. I can't wait to see the back of them.
I don't disagree. I mean, how do you think Julia and I feel? AI could replace us. How astonishingly bad would that be? 4 minutes to 10. Morning, Jez. And Sexy Matt, this must have been sent in the first hour. Stalin is incompetent, who hasn't got a clue how to run a three-legged race. Nice. Jackie, don't be naive. Starmer's DNA is communism and a passion for rejoining the EU. Keep up the free speech. Hello to Paul from Fleet. Morning, Jez. I have nothing against politicians changing their minds, but in Starmer's case, it's the damage done before they do. How long before the U-turn on the rules damaging motor manufacturers? We all know it's coming, but instead they announce vans and trucks must be electric. It's complete incompetence. We've got a voice note quickly. Morning, Joe.
Morning, Jeremy. Reeves was basically saying, I don't have any idea what I'm doing. Pretty much like the whole Labour Party, really. Have a good one.
This is brilliant, because Julia, utterly professional, was going like this off camera. What? That's the... Have you heard her speak? I mean, honest... No, but mate, I don't want to make this personal. I came in this morning, we're not having digital ID, having been told it was essential. Then she goes on the breakfast show on the BBC, because she won't come here, of course, and goes, completely confused everybody. Then she started talking about a railway that isn't HS2, won't be done till 2050, when we'll all be dead, and she didn't even know where Sheffield was.
I didn't see the BBC interviews, but weirdly, I think she's one of their better performers, which tells you how bad most
me everything, man.
And most of them are, but there we are. No, but it's
better performance.
This is how low the bar is, Jez.
Yeah.
This is how low the bar is. No, this U-turn, I mean, again, every single U-turn there's been, we actually welcome it. They're all good because all the policies were bad in the first place. But here's a mind-blowing idea, Keir Starmer. Why don't you just not bring in bad policies? Why don't you just, do some consultation, do some, make basic research for 10 minutes before you actually...
That was a bit unfortunate, wasn't it?
But before you actually announce a policy. This is a bunch of silly young men who think that... do not know... If you're watching on YouTube now, what is going on?
What has happened? It was all going really well till you walked in. I had an absolute nightmare.
I'm responsible for your earpiece coming out. No, but it is just mind-blowing. They bring this on themselves. And by the way, that announcement, Northern Rail, that's actually a good thing. Okay, it's a good thing. But we're not talking about it. What do you mean it's not going to happen? We need to build railways.
45 billion quid. We're 150 billion quid in 2055. Listen.
How long do you think... Have you had to have a conservatory done, for goodness sake, man? Building work takes a long time, and especially in this country. No, we shouldn't... I want them to be doing building. I want them to build railways, particularly in the north of this country, which is crying out for it.
Yeah, agree.
But the point is, instead of a big good news day, they're having a terrible news day because they've got a U-turn. Because they're useless.
I love you so much. I can't even believe the incompetence. I say it every single day. And what your point about that, I think he talks to too many people and worries about focus groups and doesn't have... I know people keep laughing at me. The DNA inside him to have a belief. I said earlier,
has no
don't
beliefs,
fall off your chair.
philosophy.
I hate Jeremy Corbyn. Nothing I agree with that he would do. But at least in that election, he stood up and he said, "This is what